So here we are. I'm going to go gallery mode for now. So here we are. So now this is getting bigger and bigger. We had a bit of an intro here for those that are on the ground, but welcome people on Zoom as well. A bit of a too hectic cheer for just coming in. But anyway, so feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to be looking out this way. So if you want to say something, be a bit patient and be really obvious. Don't any subtle kind of auctioneer's little ticks will not be noticed. So if you want to say something, Zoom people, just make it really obvious. And also people out there, if you see someone on Zoom, let me know as well. Because we're trying to get this conversation going with multiple people. That's the way it goes these days. We're kind of post-COVID, maybe we're not. You're welcome to join in as well, people. This is about the streets. Okay, so quickly, we've got Abby, we've got Mary, we've got Dinah, we've got Harriet, we've got new people over here, so give us your names and do a quick sound check. Just get that mic a bit closer and maybe point it down a little bit as well. What is it, Sunita? Venita? Anika. And, sorry, I can't hear very well. And?
Jamaira.
Okay, and then we've got, what was it again? Isha, that's right. And Hamza, and Niaz, and Javid, and Kate, and Nike. And who have we got over here? Whoops.
Alina,
and George, welcome.
Kate.
And
Jane.
Okay, so I mean, this is kind of pretty freeform. We were just actually talking about, it's a bit of a boring conversation. We were talking about whether we start with the PowerPoint or whether we just start with a kind of intro. My feeling about it is we should have just a bit of a chat first. The PowerPoint may come into things, but who wants to explain what's going on here? Some of the story behind why we've got all these people here. Okay. Anyone want to kick us off?
I'll give it a go.
Okay.
So, thank you for the clapping.
The warm smatter of applause. There, go on, Diana, off you go.
So if you point the camera, you can point the camera at me, or you can point the camera over here at these fantastic guys from Langdon Park School who've come representing Year 9. Now this group is from the neighbourhood that we're sitting in now, which is Aberfeldy, and you can see behind us the shops. Things are changing around here, and they're changing quite dramatically. So we really feel that it's important to hear the voices of young people, because they're very rarely listened to, and that's kind of criminal, really, isn't it? Because not only are what's that mean?
Criminal.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Sorry,
like
I
this.
didn't mean to put you off that.
I'm ready for the next one. You could have played Michael Jackson, Smooth Criminal.
Yeah, I've only got 80 on here, okay. So we'll do what we do. But anyway, carry on.
Back to the
it's criminal that young people
aren't involved, because they've got a lot of really, really interesting things to say about this local area that we don't know about. And if we don't hear their stories about what it's like now and what they want for the future, we'll probably get it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a huge loss to this area, to the investment that we're going to make, and kind of, we want to do it far better now in the future. So involving young people from Langdon Park, and also working with the school around the corner, Coludon School, doing quite similar kinds of work. We've run 5 sessions with the pupils from Year 9, and we've got some pictures, but we could just talk about what we've done.
Do you want to show the pictures? We can put them up now.
We can show a few pictures, yeah, why not?
Rick, have you got the PowerPoint in there? Okay, Rick's taking photos, so we have to...
Multitasking.
Sorry, Rick.
So I'll just...
Okay.
Harriet is here as well from Morris & Co, and Reese over there, and Nike from Levitt Bernstein. It has been a real shared endeavour, hasn't it? So we've all been really part of the listening and the sort of learning about the area, and listening to and showing them the proposals for the new area. And here comes Miranda as well from the team.
Okay, we're going to run out of chairs.
Miranda.
Do you want a remote on the PowerPoint? Do you want a remote for the PowerPoint?
Oh yeah, go on then.
I can't move that much. There we go. Yes, we did it. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that PowerPoint as well. Otherwise, it's very, very small there. Hang on.
So that photograph is just taken around the corner. Who's in that picture? Jamira, Anisha, Alicia, and I can see Ershad. There's Ershad. So it's quite nice, isn't it? Quite colourful, and that's one of the things that these guys have talked about, what they quite like. But I'm not going to tell you what they said. They can tell you what they said. How do we? I think we want to talk about just to start with how we do this. If I press,
I don't know what you put.
Okay,
That's a technical guy. So, does it work? It might be too far away. It's not going to work. Sorry, it was a nice idea, but you're too far away from the computer.
So do I just need to go next slide?
Yeah, go next slide. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. Okay, so these are some of the pupils from Coludon Primary School. In the background is Balfour Tower, so they're just around the corner on this side of the A12, and they're doing some work looking at their playground. We were looking at whether the school was going to move. At the moment, that's not going to happen. So we were kind of interested in what they thought about their playground at the moment. But the idea about thinking about play is really critical, because play is this sort of thing that you do when you're not at school and you're not brushing your teeth and you're not, catching a bus. And it's like a really important part of your life. It's like it makes you happy if it works well. Hey guys, there's more people coming. This is really good. More people are arriving. We've got more seats. And one of the things we do is we talk about with all ages, this idea that where you feel safe and free to do what you want to do is an important part of your local area. If there are not enough spaces like that, then your life is pretty restricted. So thinking about how the playground works, and then on the next slide, that's just going over to us working with the school in one of the sessions where we started off in the Spotlight Centre with Tom, who's here. In the middle, there's a map, and you can see all those colours on the map. Those are really important. Those colours are showing us what the group feel about the different spaces around Aberfeldy, whether they feel that they are great to hang out in and play in or not so good. So green is like a place where you feel safe and free, and red is a place not so good, and in the middle is amber. So just carry on with the slides. Yeah, so we're out and about looking. You can only really learn when you get out into the place that you're talking about. It's all very well sort of, it's not until you start looking and having that conversation that we can really listen to what it's like. So we're leaving the school here in this picture, and then the next one, this is us back in November. That's Valda, and who's the other one? Shakila. Oh, you're here. There's Shakila over there. Actually, maybe Shakila, do you want to explain what you're doing in that picture? You haven't said hello to Shakila's here, but you need to put the microphone near your mouth, near your face. Okay, just give us a quick mic check as well. So we've got, who have we got here? Tell us both of your names, actually.
My name is Shakila.
And who have we got here?
My name is Rihanna.
Rihanna?
Yes.
Okay, so Shakila, what's going on here? Can you see it, actually? I don't know if you can see it from there, but...
Do you remember what you're doing in that picture?
I think we were going around the areas and we were rating them, whether it was a nice place or what should be better. And over here, we're just rating it. Yeah.
Cool. So you're rating the area and just seeing what's a good place, what's a not so good place.
You're saying whether it's green, amber, or red, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then we started talking about what it was like after dark. And where were you standing in that picture? Can you remember? Well, you know where you were. You probably need to tell everybody else where you're standing.
Just point, Rihanna, just point the mic to you a little bit there. Go on.
I think that's near the Millennium Green.
Okay. That's what, was the Millennium Green a green area or was it a red area?
Yeah, green area.
Green area, okay. So I like the Millennium Green.
It's definitely green for me.
It's green, yeah, very green. Okay, good. Okay, okay, let's move on. So
now we're in the underpass.
Yeah.
That takes us under the A12.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe someone else wants to talk about that.
Anyone got any views about the underpass? Is it a green area, red area, amber area?
Can I just say something about Underpass?
Yeah, well, you know that underpass well.
I cycle through the underpass, and I know it's like a bit of a controversial subject whether cycling on the pavement is allowed or not. But my worry in the underpass is always that I'll go around a corner and there's going to be another cyclist going at me. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm waiting for that to happen.
Okay, any views about the underpass?
Niaz, go on.
Niaz, I feel like you're going to say something about it. Go on.
I think that the underpass, it would be safer in the morning, but around nighttime you'd have a lot of like people that like could like do something harmful to you, like, and you'd see like stuff on the wall and stuff. And
you feel like it's a bit of a dodgy spot.
Yeah.
Okay. I tend to concur, especially when, I don't know if you remember when it flooded. I think, was that last year or
there was some of it going on this year as well.
It was that was a dank meme, wasn't it? But anyway, let's move on. Let's have a quick.
And so where are we now? Ershad, where are we now? In this picture.
We're in Sandy Park.
So we're in Sandy Park. What kind of score did you give Sandy Park?
I gave Sandy Park about I gave it about a yellow in terms of safety, because in the night time you can never know what could happen in the night time, but like in the daytime it does seem quite safe.
Okay, we're just attracting the attention of a few extra people. We're just having a chat about this is really about architecture and design. The young people, are they being asked about what's going on in the neighbourhood, what places they think are good places and what places are not, are a bit dodgy, and what are some in between? Sandy Park's a sort of in between kind of space. Underpass is a Millennium Green is a.
Where is it, Sandy Park? I don't know where Sandy Park is.
Everyone knows where. So why would it be called Sandy Park? I mean, you can have a look at the photograph. It might give you a clue. It's called Sandy Park because it's got sand in it, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, well, let's move on. So what's happening here?
So now there's Hamza.
Yeah.
There he is over there. Now, at this point, we're in the AV, I think. And what score are you giving the AV?
Green.
No, hang on. This is important because Ruth and Nike over there from Levitt Bernstein. They're the architects who designed that part of Aberfeldy, the Aberfeldy village, but shortened to AV. So they're just being given a green, thank you, for their open spaces. So pretty good, right? But we need to know why it's getting a green.
Okay, why is it getting a green?
Hamza, maybe that's you in the picture.
So
you're
talking about the what's called the linear park, the long park. Yeah. There's a bit of nodding going on there. So what do people think about that? Any views? It doesn't just have to be under 18 to have a view on this as well. So anyone that's out there has got something to say. What do people think about some of these park spaces? At the back there. Okay, we've got someone at the back. Tell us your name as well.
My name's Eleanor. I quite like that space because not a lot of sunlight because the buildings are blocking out the light. So it's a nice linear space, but it could do with a bit more sunlight. I know people sit there looking desperately for the sun, and there's not quite enough of it. It'd be nice to see more sunlight in the open spaces if possible.
All right. How do we get more? Maybe that's a question for the architects. How do we get more sunlight in the places when you've just built a whole load of buildings in the way? Is it glass? But I don't know. I'm not an architect, so I don't know. And this also goes to the people online as well. Actually, they can't see me. Oh, they can see me because we took time. It goes to people online as well. Have you got some answers to some of these problems as well? Anyway, so is that, are there more slides?
Keep going.
Okay, we'll go back to the slides.
So this is the point where we need to start thinking about what we want for the new place, right? So they're starting to write the manifesto. There's Myra, I think. Yes, she's there. Isn't it great? They've all turned up. And you probably can't remember what you wrote on that post-it note. Can you remember what you wrote on that post-it note?
Can you remember?
I can't, not exactly, no.
We can't really see it if we zoom in, but we can probably just make it out. That's what we tend to do.
Fantastic architecture. She's more fantastic architecture, please. So if you go to the next slide, and it gets a bit. Oh, there's Harriet, who's here.
Yeah.
Having a bit of a listen as well. So carry on.
Let's keep going.
Yeah, so this is the kind of dry bit where we put it all together in a report so that the planners can see that we've done it all really well and everybody's listened and all of that. But you know, we're there really doing the listening, so we don't need to read any reports. So it's in, you know, it's pulsing through our veins now. We're thinking about young people while we're designing. Keep going. And this is quite interesting because this is how, when you put all the results together of how you feel about the spaces, this is where it gets kind of technical. Lots of comments, but those golden lines are how people feel, how the young people feel during the day, and then the dark line is how they feel at night. So have a look at the AV space and how that dark grey line, the after dark one, is almost up at the same level as the golden one, but the underpass is low for after dark and low for the middle of the day. Can you see the Jolly Street Tunnel underpass? So they're really thinking about how they feel in the space and how they think other age groups do. So it's all quite technical. Keep going. And this is their manifesto. So all those post-it notes come together to make this 5-themed manifesto. Really hard-hitting, achievable aims. I want to live in a friendly place. I want to live in a place where I'm free and safe to do what I like. I want to be able to get around freely. I want to live in a green, eco-friendly environment, and I want it to be a place for all ages. There's a lot of empathy, sensitivity, detail, broad sort of thoughts here. And we needed to design for those things. So we, as a team, needed to make sure that our project met that manifesto. So that was the third session. So by the fourth session, the architects were bringing along the plans and the ideas and saying, okay, let me go to the next slide. This is the final session that we had on Tuesday. Some really nice photographs that the year 9s had taken and the children from year 5 at Coludon. They've now gone into the consultation hub, so their friends and family can come and have a look. But this is Jo here. I don't know if Jo's here today. There she is. This is Jo. She's going to talk in a minute. And this is where we like really properly show the proposals, and it's like nail biting. They've got to tell us whether it's meeting their manifesto. So, well, did it?
I mean, what do people think? Is it coming up with the goods, or is it too early to say? This is a difficult moment. What do people think? Is it coming up with the goods so far, or is it
David,
too early to say?
David, what do you think?
I think everything back
Welcome, just get rid of that music again.
I think everything that was shown meet a criteria for what we wanted, because we wanted we wanted an enjoyable space for everyone, to bring everyone together.
So when you say everyone, who are you thinking of?
Everyone in Aberfeldy and outside Aberfeldy.
Yeah.
All ages.
Okay, so actually all ages, local people visiting, so you're not just thinking about young people that live here, you're thinking absolutely wide and vast. And so it's got to meet the criteria for everybody. That's a really interesting point, I think. Okay, so I just also want to say we've got people online. At the moment we're just kind of like setting the scene, but people, if we've got the chat running, we are watching the chat. So far it's just Margot in the chat. But if you've got any questions, any thoughts, ideas, jokes even, just throw them into the chat. We want to get you people involved in this as well.
You can ask some hard questions about this. Ask some hard questions. Ask the young people whether that really is working. There's lots of other things about it being good for all ages. Can you think of anything else, Anisha? You think about some other points that we went through.
And what do people think? Is it meeting the is it meeting? I mean, from my perspective, I sort of feel like, how do you know at this point? But I mean, so far, is it meeting the criteria? Also, there's another thing as well I think is quite interesting, where you've got this lots and lots of detail in the report. How do you turn that into something that is accessible and actually makes sense to not just to young people, but as you said, to really everyone in the community, Joey? Okay, well, let's keep going. Yeah, okay. Is that the next thing coming up? Okay. Yeah, come on in.
this is a bit more of us showing them what's happening. If you could just maybe just scroll through these slides.
Okay, let's have a quick flick through.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oops, one button, there we go.
Biscuits, very important. Also payment, very important for young people's time. Yeah. I'm going to use all 80 of those.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Some of them I don't think you're going to use. But anyway, we'll see.
Not the X-rated ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, and by the end, I think we're going to end up with some lovely certificate giving. Oh, and then back to the broader engagement. Joe, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, we can give you a roaming mic if you want to come into the... Yeah, okay, so that's this one over here.
That's going to be ages. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jo, helping to design the master plan.
Yeah.
So I think, well, working with these amazing heroes here has been phenomenal, and maybe we can have a longer conversation in a bit about some of the detail and some of the really insightful things that you've told us that have informed the design. But the other thing that we've been doing, not only working with this amazing group of young people, but also working with the wider community, which is what those slides start showing. And so with Poplar Harker and a lot of people kind of sitting around here and, obviously a wider community, we did this amazing Planning for Real exercise that was organised by Poplar Harker and run by Poplar Harker. And most of the engagement in the last year has been all digital, it's been all online. We haven't had the benefit of these kind of conversations, which is what we love as architects doing, but we haven't had the benefit of that. So we did a lot of it online, and the Planning for Real, I have never known anything like that. It was absolutely extraordinary. So what Poplar Harker... I still want to hear the next one. So what Poplar Harker organisers, they did this. They sent out packs to everybody in the whole community. There was something like 2,000 packs sent out to people. And there were maps of Aberfeldy and Nairn Street, this whole area. There were a series of stickers for all sorts of different community functions, things that you guys have mentioned, other things, green space, open space, safe streets, shops, all sorts of things. And people had to kind of talk with their families or their households and their friends about what they wanted to see in the new master plan, and then use the stickers to illustrate where they thought those things should go, very broadly. And they filmed themselves doing it, and then all of those films were posted on WhatsApp so we could see them. And so all of that wealth of kind of internal conversation in households, suddenly we could hear it, we could see it. And then they posted all of these packs back. So some of the slides, I think, on that, maybe we could return to the slides. But so that was the pack, past the pack.
Yeah.
And there were lots of questions asked, and people had to respond and answer some of the questions. What do you most want to see in your spaces? What's important to you regarding your streets? What kind of housing do you want? What's important in the design of homes? And this is just a little illustration of all the things people said and all the different households that were involved in this conversation. Really, really phenomenal. And so we gathered that all together alongside all the work that Dinah and ZTD and Morris and Company and LDA and all of these heroes had been doing, the schools had been doing together. And that was all gathered together and then fed into the master plan. So what now we have, so that's just, yes, some of the kind of there was a website, people were living in the wider area contributing to this website, which is still live. So you should all have a look at the website if you can. So that resulted in this ballot, which was enormously successful, and all through lockdown. Can you believe that? And we got over 90% turnout, over 90% in favour of redevelopment. I mean, I think there's only one other project in the whole of London that has achieved that. and it's not as good as Aberfeldy. Exactly. So no, I mean, that is really extraordinary, given the number of things other people had on their mind other than what was going to happen here during that time.
There's a question in the chat from Angarad, which is like, what's next? How can you keep that level of engagement going once the buildings are being built? I mean, does that become somebody else's issue, or is that something that you can keep going?
Absolutely, absolutely. This might be the moment for Harriet from Morrison Company to say a few words about our plans of the meanwhile uses. But just one thing I would say is obviously making Aberfeldy and Nairn Street, this whole area, a fantastic place to be during construction over the next 10 or 15 years is really vital. And that's part of the engagement, the design work we'll all be doing, and the work that these guys will be helping with in terms of these meanwhile uses is the way of keeping that engagement going. But with that, I'm going to hand over to Harriet, I think.
Okay, Harriet, over you go. So I also want to sort of like say to all the young people, and Angela, thanks for that point in the chat, really useful point, but this is open to everyone, so let's get a little bit of to and fro. Don't be scared to come in on some of these points. But over to you now, Harriet.
Hello.
Hello.
It's working. Thank you.
Thank you, Evie, for sliding beside us.
Yeah, so it has been such a great experience working with all of these amazing young people, but also with the residents and the local community. So we've been having these steering groups throughout the process. And one of the things we've been talking about right since the beginning is what it's like to live through a construction site, a big development that's going to be phased, and it's got to be sequenced right to work for the local community. And so we've been talking about meanwhile use a lot.
Yeah. What does that mean, meanwhile use?
Yeah, so it's a good question. We are on a street at the moment that has a great example of meanwhile use. All this the colourful fronts of these buildings that have we've been revitalised and had a kind of new energy brought to them. And this is completely the work of the local community in terms of patterning and colour that's been brought this place a whole new dynamic in the last couple of years. So meanwhile use is something that you can do in the short term. Right. But the key thing about it is that it can be a great way to test ideas. So one of the things that we want to do is kind of test ideas that are going to be rolled out in the future development, see how they work, see.
Who's to blame for doing all this?
Tell us your name first of all.
Danny.
So go on. Who's to blame for what? For the
colouring of this and making the street more dead. It was more alive when it was less coloured.
Do you think the colour has killed the street?
Yeah. It's the colour has killed the street. There's nothing coming here, is there? There's nothing. Every day the street is dead. There's brought nothing to the area. The businesses are fighting for people to come into the street, and there's nothing. When people do come into the street, they just walk past the businesses. The local pub, people don't even go in, and that. It's meanwhile space has made it meanwhile horrendous. That's what I think at the minute.
From your point of view, I just want to put that out there to other people, and includes these people walking. What do you think about the street? Could it actually? Is it a dead space, as Danny said? Is it dead? Is it dying? Is it recovering? Any thoughts on this side of the table?
The only thing that's making it people in the street is the Aberfeldy big local. Okay. They've come into the area and that. It is, the big local have come into the area and put the time and effort in the people. But now that
okay, so from your perspective, it's about putting time and effort into the people there. Okay, we've got a point over here. Okay. You need to point it away from the speaker.
There we go. So does that mean that the new master plan will mean that there will be other buildings on this? Because I guess for a long time the street hasn't been a minimal place. It's been a street. So I guess it must also be quite, I would imagine I'd find it quite hard if I lived on the street and then suddenly it's been like named as a meanwhile space.
Okay.
Isn't that quite frustrating?
Is it frustrating for people? Well, let's widen this out there. I know, Harriet, you want to come back on this. There's some nodding going on over there. What do young people think? Shaz, you've got a point. I haven't asked you your name yet, but we'll find out your name. And it probably will be Shaz.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Shaz. I just want to say, Kurt opened up this boxing gym. It's made a difference in my life. You know, it's made a big improvement. The Talkaoke youth guys, since I've come here, it's uplifted me. So I think there should be more youth activities in the area.
Okay, more. You think that focus should be on young people's activities?
I think for everyone, really. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that are going through mental health because of COVID. Yeah. You know, to uplift everyone. Okay. I think it'll make a big difference.
All right. Okay. I mean, what else? Okay. Javid, Nais. Irshad, what's your point? Yeah, go on.
Personally, I was gonna say that meanwhile spaces, it doesn't really affect me because I just know that Aberfeldy's gonna get like a new cover to it, like a new life. So I mean, I think that's a good thing instead of a bad thing.
So you think that's okay? I mean, what do you think about the fact that everything's temporary right now on the street? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
Like, it depends, but like it depends if the things that are coming is going to be better than the things that are already here.
Okay, so the things that are coming have to be better. What do you think about this point from Danny that the street is dead or dying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like.
And what could liven it up a little bit?
More events.
More events, so actually things happening in the street. Okay, that's an interesting point. Back to you, Harriet.
Hello. That's one of the things that we talked about with you, Irshad, and your friends. We talked about kind of priorities. What does Aberfeldy need most right now? You know, we have all this conversation. Sorry, we have all this conversation about the kind of the long-term future. You know, 5 years, 10 years, and longer. But actually, what's the kind of urgent, pressing need right now? What can we do? And so safe routes, cycling. That is kind of absolutely, I think, in all the groups that we had was number one. But pop-up events, healthy eating and socializing, places to play. These were kind of all conversations that we had, and we were putting ideas down, rating them. And then what we did in our last session this week is we were talking a bit more specifically about Aberfeldy Street and because that's the first part of the development. What's going to happen when this street is under development, because it is a street that is changing.
Sorry to interrupt him, but it's killing the people off. The people that have lived here for years, the community people, it's really killing all this cycling routes and that. You're not thinking of the older people or people with disability that need their cars and stuff to live. Because if you're a family and you've got coming from shopping, cycling's all well and good. Yeah. But it's just not practical. I know this area is a safe area. Poplar is very safe. There's less crime. Well, there's crime about, but there's less aggressive. There's no one getting stabbed a lot around here, and or mugged and that. But the cycling is nice. But it's too much of that. It's like the safe street, the blocking off the road. That's killing people. That is killing the business. It's killing people where they live, because that means they've got to park their car somewhere else. The new development's going up. You're not even thinking about people with car spaces, with cars. And it's terrible.
I think the point that you made about the going to shops is a really important one for elderly, and kind of having that local shop. And we some of the conversations we've had with you, I think, in the resident steering group, we talked about the sort of shops on the street. What do you need? What do you want here? So you don't have to cross the main road and go to an underpass.
Yeah, hang on a sec, Danny. Let's just widen it out. I mean, I think these points you're making are good points, but I want to widen this conversation out, because there's loads of people here, there's hands up all over the place. Also, there's a point online from Lucy saying, how long is a meanwhile space, and will the boxing club be allowed to stay? So there are points. I think you've got some really good points, but let's just spread this out to everyone.
That ain't even being used.
Yeah.
That's been shut. If you could just give it to someone
Yeah.
with good business sense and get more people in. It's everything's at it's on the doldrums. It's at a low.
So you feel like it is dead. I think that's a point well made when people do agree with you. But let's get some other points. Georgia, you got a point?
That's my point's kind of been led in.
Yeah.
I have, I appreciate the amount of work that's going into everything, but I have a real issue with this idea of something being temporary.
Yeah.
It's if it's here for 3 years, then that's not particularly temporary. And if it's temporary and then it's liked by the local community, then it has potential to stay.
Yeah, well, that comes back to, I think, to Lucy's
So yeah,
point.
and that's so I just think we need to be wary of the fact that temporary, meanwhile, so I know that there's a garden in West London which was built in the it's called Meanwhile Gardens because of this exact, they just decided to make a garden and then they called it Meanwhile Gardens and it's been there since the 70s. So it's just need to be aware of the fact,
I think, can I just respond to that? Yeah, it's a really, really good point, and that's something that we've talked about in terms of any sort of meanwhile that happens during the development of Phase A could actually in the future be a place that start-up businesses could kind of have a foothold before they go on to be more established, and kind of really using it as a more longer-term way for the local community to have a place. So yeah, it absolutely doesn't have to be temporary. It's hopefully, if it's well thought out, it's something that...
I think what you're saying, Harriet, is a bit of a laboratory for future use. And sometimes, like George's example of when things go well, that's good. I want to I know there's a lot of adults with their hands up, and the young people, in a way, this is supposed to be about you. What do you think about some of these questions? Do you feel the street is dead? What would liven it up? Do you think it's okay to have stuff temporary? I mean, Irshad has pointed out that, this is all part of the development and you're looking long term. And maybe if you're younger, you do think a bit more long term. I don't know. But what do other young people think? And what about Table 6 that have not really said anything at all so far? Okay, Maze, what are you going to say? Just move that mic around. Yeah, go on.
I think that the place could be quite dead sometimes, but a lot of the majority of the time, there's a lot of liven up space. For example, after school, you have the PFC shop. It's packed. You can't even get in.
Yep.
And but the place is quite dead sometimes. So I think that we should add some more shops and cafes.
Yeah. What kind of shops and cafes would you like to add? Or could we experiment with that as well?
You could add places like Costa or Starbucks.
Costa or Starbucks.
Or Boba Tea Shop.
What's it? What tea shop?
Boba. Bubble tea.
I don't know that one.
What's that? Where is it?
Very nice drink.
Is it? Okay, like a bubble tea?
Yeah.
Sort of thing, okay. All right, and don't know that one. Other people on this side, go on. Tom, you want to come in? Yeah.
Sorry. These young people have been working with Aberfeldy Big Local about some meanwhile projects, and they've come up with some really great ideas about what they would like to see on the street. So it might be easier for you to remember what some of those ideas were that you thought should come to the street, because a lot of these young people agreed with Danny about when you live on Aberfeldy, you have to leave Aberfeldy to do something.
Yeah.
And actually that wasn't a good thing. They wanted something here, what they could come to that they felt that was their own, but also that other people might want to come to Aberfeldy to see, so that this street becomes more than just for local people with local activities, but other people might want to come and visit here as well. So when this group talked with Eleanor and Aberfeldy Big Local, what were your ideas? What were some of the things that you pitched to see?
Okay, Irshad, Danny feels like that no one would want to come here, but... Okay, is it Village of the Damned? Irshad, what's your view?
I was gonna say so we partnered up with the Big Local and we had £1,000 pitch to make. So we came up with different ideas doing a big event or barbecues or stuff that will entertain people and attract lots of people to come.
Yeah, okay, so the barbecue idea is a good one. Are people coming to the area? Are people being attracted? Is it the village of the damned? Says Danny. What do other young people think? What other older people think? And people out there on Zoom.
There's a question on Zoom as well. It's about safety.
Yeah, safer streets. How did the project address this question? I mean, I feel like Tarek, I feel like we should park that for now, because I feel like we haven't really resolved this question about whether the place is dead, dying, or going to actually revive. What do people think about the temporariness of all these things and how temporary is temporary? Margot, you've been wanting to say something for ages, so go on.
Yeah, I was just wondering, kind of going off on the thing that you said, Tom, about, young people wanting Aberfeldy to be a place for the outside people to come and visit. And I almost wonder, from all of the people who are in Aberfeldy, all the young people, I mean, do you see yourself living here in 10 years' time? I know that 10 years is like a long time, but with your manifesto being here and that kind of stuff, and I don't know, maybe this kind of...
Hang on, so I just want to stop, because I've got some passers-by here. Is Aberfeldy Street the village of the damned? Is it a dead space?
No. Bringing it alive. Bringing it back from the dead. Yeah. 2021. Yeah. We're moving forward. Aberfeldy Street. One love.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I think there's a varied view here. But yeah, go on, Margot.
All I want to say, for the young people, do you see yourself living here in, let's say, 10, 15 years' time, or are you just going to be out?
And this is a question, what makes Aberfeldy Street a destination rather than a place to leave? Because I think that was your point, wasn't it, Harriet? The people at the moment want to... Ershad.
I was going to say something about that. Maybe not 10 years time, because 10 years time can be a long time. You may want to travel the world or something, move to another country. Yeah. But there may be some people who would like to live here for a longer time, maybe because something they like is here, or their family may be here.
Yeah. So family's always going to bring you back. You might go away from Aberfeldy Street, but you come back to see your family.
Yeah. One last point.
Yeah.
They may not be able to move out of Aberfeldy because they may not have enough money to move out, so that's why they could be there. Yeah. Or they just like the place. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so there's a question of money, there's a question of how much you like the place. What would make you... so we've got some new faces as well. Do you want to say anything about this? We've already... PFC, aka AV Grill, has been mentioned as the place to hang out, the place that's super busy, the most lively place on the street.
What do you say about AV Grill? I mean, we are here to serve community, and we're always here. Even the COVID, we never closed. We was open every single day. Yeah. And this... What am I going to say about this street? I mean, if you come after 7:30, I mean, nothing's open, everything closed. So where are the people going to come? Because if they want to buy a cigarette or even sweet or milk or whatever, nothing. The laundries, I mean, this has been closed for the last, 6 months? I don't know, whatsoever. Yeah. I mean, I think to bring a community and people to come here would be nice to have small, the Tesco local or Sainsbury local, something like that. People to come and do pop in, pop out. People have to buy anything, they have to go to High Street. Right. They have to go all the way at the big Tesco or even Stratford.
I mean, is that something you could have as a meanwhile space, a supermarket?
Small supermarket, I mean, we'll bring the community together because they will come.
But you also want to see some nighttime action happening?
Nothing there nighttime.
I mean, he's a social worker and youth worker all rolled in one.
Okay.
And the amount of diffuse he sort out.
Okay, so actually, if anything goes wrong tonight, we're going to call you into action. Okay, so
I'm there always.
You're there, always there, ready to go. And we're actually working with you tonight. There is some chicken coming, or at least vouchers that we're going to give out. I don't know how we're going to orchestrate that without killing the conversation. Maybe we could do it like in a subtle, careful, one by one, table by table way, and keep the conversation going at the same time. That might be. We've got a new face over here. What's your name?
Saj for short. I really like to agree with the gentleman, I was just passing through on my way home from work. I live down the street. I really think that supermarkets should come here, and it has been on my mind recently as well. That with all the new development and everything going on, I really think that one or two supermarkets, even like the small ones, should come to our street.
And what kind of things are you buying from the supermarket that you can't get around here?
Basic essentials, like milk, bread, topping up your oyster. I know there's a shop down next to my house, but they open late, they close early. These are the kind of things that sort of makes it easier for us to live around here. And I think these kind of essential things should be more readily available and available, at longer hours. And I also think that there should be more services around here, because that would really bring the people back from.
What kind of services?
Well, like for example, a youth centre possibly that could sort of bring together like the youngsters in the area. Supermarkets are another thing that's already been mentioned, and also
something unique. A bookshop, okay. So some points there. I know there's a lot of people, there's also people online, as Tarek's come in with some other questions. I'm just going to read out, we may not, we'll go with the flow here. So what about bringing local shops that cater for, that's just what everyone has just said, so you bang on there. Instead of local shops instead of a big supermarket, says Tarek. What sort of nighttime activities will young people enjoy? Because I think, look, that is one of the focuses, is about what happens at night. Does it all close down? Is it empty? Or are there things that you want to happen? Would it be a youth club? Or is it just about shops being open?
And could you go back to the PowerPoint? Because we've got a nice photo of Highland Place.
Okay, Rick.
And I just wanted to say there was some nods about the youth club. I can't remember your name, but you were kind of maybe agreeing with having another, like a youth club around here. Is that something they'd like to see?
Isn't it?
Yeah, go to Mike.
Go on, Rihanna, go on.
People were saying they wanted to go like go-karting and tennis and jumping, like flip out and all them stuff. So I was saying if we have a youth centre, like every day from a certain time where everyone can go, and there could be little activities like table tennis, PlayStation, going out to play football for a bit. And then once a month, like that youth centre could save up that money to go on a trip.
Okay, so
like go-karting.
Okay, so it's all doing stuff here, but also going out into the thing. We're going to come to the slide in here, but I feel like we need to address some of the points that.
It quite helps answer the question, and it might help the young people talk a little bit about what was important. Right. That's why I was thinking if you just flick through to the slides.
We'll quickly click through. Rick, if you can do that. And Rick's inside, so it's hard for him to see what's going on. But there was a point over here, was it from the camera person? Okay, okay, let me make that big as well. Hang on.
Next one.
There we go. It's in the tiny corner there.
That one.
Wow, look at this.
So this one's important because this is a nighttime photo. So I think that's a good question from Ang Harrod. It's about what happens when it gets dark and what's going on in this picture.
Yeah, I think that was Tarek that asked that question.
Yeah,
was it?
Ang Harrod.
And Ang Harrod. Two people asking a question, but look at this. What's going on here? Diana, tell us what's going on.
I don't think I want to say what's going on here. Joe, do you want to say what's going on here? I mean, it is pretty amazing. It's a completely new space. It doesn't exist right now.
Thanks, Dinah. Yeah, so you guys all know what's going on here, but just for everyone else. So the idea is that the existing underpass at the end of Abbott Road, which takes buses and cars at the moment, is full of tarmac and concrete, gets transformed into this, and it's only for pedestrians and cyclists. And we have more workspace. You can see there in Creative Space more of the Poplar Works buildings up in Nairn Street. They come down and we make more of them. We light the space. We open it out into Jolly's Green so you can walk easily from one side to the other without crossing the A12, which is toxic, isn't it? Noisy, dirty, and not great for if you've got young children with you either. And also you can see in this image that there's lots, not only are there sort of activated spaces, what we call activated spaces, so there's a bike shop there and a cafe on the edge which stays open, but also lots of kind of play on the way, so places where kids can stop off and play and climb and do things.
Yeah.
And it's really well lit.
I noticed that this slide's actually got a slide within the slide.
It does. Clever.
Okay, so this is what young people, what do you think about this? Is this what you concur with? What do you think about this? What do you think about some of the chat that's happening? Go on, what's your name again, sorry? Hamza.
That bit we liked the most because it was like more better.
Yeah.
Like because the underpass bit is like really dangerous.
Yeah.
Even at night time, like people get scared. So now that it's more open, people won't be like that scared to go through.
Okay, so this could be a really cool spot. Are you looking forward to this? I mean, do you we lost it now, but do you are you excited by what that picture suggests?
Yeah, like it looks way better.
And what element of it are you most excited about?
Like I'm not sure, it just looks like nice.
Okay, it looks like
it'll be more open.
Yeah, okay. What do people think of this vision? Go on, Rihanna.
I think I like to sit on a hot evening out where it's cool. So I think it was nice to see that there was a cafe there.
Yeah.
Where people could and if there were like little benches around where people could sit and drink there.
Yeah. So it's going to be a really social place. It's going to be like a lively, buzzing. What's that? Go on.
Cafe's good. Right, from 9 o'clock to say about 5 o'clock, that's when cafes are thingy. But is the pub going to carry on? Are we going to have a local pub in the area? And another thing, to draw, we have to pay money out of a cash machine on the corner here, and that's going to put people off.
Yeah.
Why can't we have free cash machines? Everything just takes our money.
Okay, so
you can't spend in this lovely place here. Can't spend.
So every time how much does it cost to take money out of the cash machine?
$1.99, I think.
$1.99 for whatever money. So in a way, the economy's been a little bit stifled there. Was there a point somewhere?
I agree with him on the cash machine point because. You know, we used to have a free one. I think that was free, and the one in Londres used to be free as well.
Yeah.
But the one in Londres, way before it closed, it stopped working.
Yeah.
And this one started charging. And a while ago, someone from I think Proper Harker came around to talk about all the refurbishment going on, and that was one of the points that I forwarded to him.
Yeah.
That if we could have like free.
So it's a simple point in a way. I mean, how does the sort of money issue kind of come into this? Have people got money to take out of a cash machine? Larry, you've got a point as well. I sent you across to go and get cash out from the
you did
A12 to save £2. Yeah.
I don't know this area very well. I've been here a couple of times, but what I've noticed, there's not a lot of green spaces where you can go and just chill out, like a big park with a green field that you can play.
Yeah.
Just football, whatever, have a picnic. Maybe I don't know about this spot, but if it's not so just easy to find, I guess not everyone just carries Google Map.
So can some of those green areas be incorporated into...
Yeah, we are talking about building new stuff and architecture, but how do we actually involve the green
I think Joe wants to come straight in on that one and go on.
Just really quickly, because I'm really keen for everyone else to comment. But just to say, that's the main part of the master plan. Actually, is the regeneration and refurbishment of the existing green spaces. And Aberfeldy Big Local are leading on that, and on an engagement strategy that's looking at how those spaces, what people want to do in each of those spaces. And the landscape architects are designing that with the feedback from local people. So that's a really huge aspect of just the wider area regeneration. And the other thing we are doing, so Highland Place, which is a bit of the underpass thing that you just saw on the screen, if you turned around 180 degrees in that view, you'd see a brand new park, because part of it is going to be a green space that links into that underpass. So green space and open space is a vital part of this master plan, absolutely.
Okay, that's some really good news there. I just want to say to whoever's got the chicken vouchers, maybe it's time, because I feel like we're talking a lot about PFC, maybe it's time, but I think we should do one table at a time, so we don't kill the flow of the conversation, maybe starting on table 1, just because table 5 and 4 are saying a lot. So maybe we start with table 1, send them in, and then go around. That would be my direction on this one. But let's keep the conversation hot. Let's see what. There's a lot of chat coming from the chat online. You know, you can even talk to us as well, people online, because we haven't really heard from anyone online. So if anyone wants to say anything, please do raise your hand. I've got an eye on all of this. If you know how to use the raised hand function, that's great as well. Can the underpass be used as a social space in winter? What about spaces where people can go short of cash but want to have fun and be creative? Is it all about cash? That's a point from Lucy over there. Hamza, you got another point there? Grab this pink mic. Grab the pink mic. It'll save us problems. Yeah, and point it to your face. Go on, Hamza. Yeah.
I don't think the underpass can be used as a social space because there's like limited amount of space.
Yeah.
And like people will just come and go like on one side. And plus there's going to be bikes going through the underpass.
Okay, so who's going to police that space if it's going to be?
We could use like CCTV cameras, police patrols and stuff.
But would it still be safe? Would it be? Would people be?
If there was like security around, it might be like a tiny bit safe. But if there's no police around and like there was only CCTV cameras, it will be okay. But there's like less chance of like knowing what's going to happen.
Okay, so there's a point. What was it, Saj?
Yeah, I think in terms of police in that area, one idea that we could do, and it does come from a film I saw a while ago, but we could have like some of the locals volunteering to be wardens, where they could sort of volunteer to.
People could volunteer just to keep an eye on, like maybe one day a week or something like that. Would you do it, Saj?
Given if I have the time, then I would happily volunteer to come out for a few hours a couple of times a week.
I just want to say we've got some people here that I've just managed to attract from across the street. We're talking about design of this area and young people. I noticed there's some young people about, from my perspective, you're all young people, or 5 of you. But we're talking about design on the street. Is Aberfeldy Street a dead area? Is it going to be revived? What about the temporariness of all the things going on? These are some of the conversations we've been having. What about like turning the underpass into a kind of social space? Is that going to work? Would you need to police it? Would people from the community police it themselves? These are some of the questions.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think Aberfeldy is a good place for children?
Compared to other areas in Tower Hamlets, I think it is, yes.
What's good about it?
I guess the shops around, the schools, transport links, all the other services you have in this area makes it stand out than other areas that I've seen in Tower Hamlets as well. So
there's not many areas that have got their own pop-up talk show, that's for sure. Hamza, you've got a point over here. Well, just turn the microphone.
What do you like about Aberfeldy the most?
What do you like? So you're doing my job now. I like this a lot. Yeah. What do you like about Aberfeldy the most?
Well, I was born and raised here, so I don't want to say so.
We've had a few people that have left here for a long time. Some people feel like it's gone down or it's not got the liveliness.
Due to the recent housing issues after breaking down the old buildings, a lot of the local community people that we used to be living here, who I grew up with, my friends and my families and the relatives around there, they've moved out. So it's new people coming in has made it a bit, how shall I say this, a bit more harder to get to know them, and it's not exactly the feeling that we used to have before.
So in a way, we need to actually bring the community together and bring the new people into what's going on as well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of new faces around, which does affect it as well. So I don't know. It's guess. I guess it's good keeping the community together. Where people's go. So
okay. So there's. Did you have a point over there? So what's your name again? Did you have a point? No, I thought you raised. I definitely saw Tom raise his hand.
It's almost like these guys have got an idea for that, right? It's almost like these guys have got an idea for bringing the community together this summer.
Okay, well, hang on, because I know you want to say something, Hamza, but Tom, I saw you have your hand up.
There was a point about security and safety under the underpass and how that gets patrolled.
Yeah.
And we did have a group of young adults that were hanging around the area that were causing some ASB. And when we started to speak to them, we understood that one of their worries was that cars could come onto the Aberfeldy at any moment, and it makes them feel unsafe, that they can speed past, something could happen, and then someone could drive off straight again. And because there's not many people around in the area, no one would see or no one would support them if they needed help or assistance. So one of the reasons why those young people were hanging around behind a wall by the community centre was because it was an element of protection.
Right. So
because they were worried that anyone could jump out and get them at any point. And when we were doing a big door knock around here, it was amazing that no one was on the street. I would walk around and the place seemed really quiet, but everyone was indoors. Because when we knocked on the door, they were inside, but people weren't coming down this street. They weren't walking around. Is that what
you want to see, is more people on the street?
By people being around, by people being in the area, by it being animated under the underpass, it gives that sense of security and safety, because there's other people that might help you if you need it, but also it makes you feel more comfortable.
Okay, so what you're saying really is there's almost like strength in numbers. If there's a busy street, then people feel safe because there's other people around. Was there a point, Hansa, did you have a point? Or Irshad, do you want to just point the mic around to you a little bit?
I was gonna say that, like, while I get what Tom's saying, like, there's lots of people who live here, but they're not really coming out as much. And that may be due to the fact that, like, there's not much there is a lot to do here, but there's not much changes going on at the moment, so people aren't being engaged in like what the community is doing.
Okay, so people are not really feeling part of it. Is that what it's about, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting point. Okay. Oh, there are some people that have not said anything at the... Maiskin, you got a point, yeah? Go on.
Well, the people, like, I also agree with Tom's point about people always staying inside, but we also need to encourage them to come outside.
Yeah.
It's like the term, like, the people speak. Like, this also helps encourage people to come outside.
Yeah.
But we also need more than just this to help people come outside, like fun fairs or community events, like pop-up events. Like, we could have a barbecue or like charity event, anything, just to encourage people to come outside and actually enjoy the area.
Okay, so you feel the route to this is through events. Okay, and I think it's a strong point. I just want to turn to the getting community is important. Could we use artificial intelligence to monitor and enhance the collective intelligence? Would that help policing? I'm not quite sure. Tarek, you might have to come online and explain that a little bit, because community. We're getting a lot. Community is life. Great ideas, says Lucy. Everyone's online is talking about community. I think we should go to some of these online people, especially Tarek, with all these ideas. How is it going to work, this artificial intelligence? Because let me just remove that spotlight as well. Tarek, are you there? Do you fancy?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi. Well, I've just been thinking of ideas and how you kind of police in a softer way, because everybody's using technology. You've got the Internet of Things. Is it in a nighttime situation where you've got sensors that can detect a maybe heartbeat, or even project a mirror that reflect what's behind you? So it's just promote that issues of safety possibly. So I don't know whether with artificial intelligence, I know Nesta are developing some apps in terms of helping to kind of identify trees. Is it possible that we can use that in that same process to kind of make streets safer at night?
Okay, so in a way, sort of spotting the patterns that could potentially be dangerous or not dangerous. Would that make people feel safer? That's a great point. Thank you. I forgot to do the sound effects for you, Tarek. I do apologise for that. Okay, if anyone else out there in the world that's listening to this has got any points, do come in, because I find it quite exciting when people come on the big screen like that. Okay, so was that point over there? Javid, do you have a point? I thought you did. Okay. Sad, you got a point?
I think with what Tarek was saying, if there is an app that we sort of got the flyer on our door from, I think it's called Neighborhood.
Right.
But I think if we have a similar app like that specifically for our area around here, where all the neighbours and the whole community sort of had a link to that, and where we sort of could like get live updates if someone sees something.
So it's almost like a sort of street intelligence app.
Something like that, yeah. If we had that and everyone was on there, and we could have sort of get live updates, and sort of if like Papa Haka or like anyone who manages there, if they were in it as well, and if there were any plans or events or these kind of things, if it comes online on there, so sort of build the connection and the awareness in the area.
Should we be using technology a bit more? I think is the question there. It's a very good point. So Joe, you've got a point there, but I also want to I'm also keen to bring in table 6 and table 7. I know table 7 don't have a mic, so you've kind of got an excuse. Table 6 have got no excuse at all. So we need to hear a little bit from table 6, I feel. But anyway, over to you, Joe.
Just really quickly before I pass it on, I'll pass it on to these guys. But just to say that, I mean, one of the things, by the way, hello, Tarek, he's an old student of mine, I've seen him for a long time. Just to say that I think one of the key things is to activate the spaces with uses. It's a point that Danny made earlier, actually, about things opening into the evening. And so, these guys came up with a whole load of suggestions about, for example, cafe spaces or the bike repair shop in the Underpass having a homework club so that people can go there after school, that's stretching into the early evening. It's about layering lots of different activities and different uses rather than just plugging CCTV everywhere. That doesn't feel the solution. But I think Tarek's suggestions about kind of making technology work hard is really good.
Okay.
I can just add. So I was actually working with the young people on Tuesday at the event, and we actually spoke quite a lot about other ways to bring the community together. And spaces, maybe outdoor seating areas and shelters and spaces that they could enjoy on the street, so they can go and get their chicken or their sandwich or whatever, and then they can all sit together and enjoy spaces with their friends. So I think, guys, you'll probably remember us talking about that, but they're really good ideas as well that could help bring our Aberfeldy community back together.
Okay, so there's a lot. I mean, we've heard a lot of them already, actually, about things like events as well, and that I think the ideas are flowing. To me, that's really important, that the ideas are actually flowing as well. Any points from anyone else on this table 7? What will bring the community together? Do we rely too much on technology? I felt there's a little bit of an implication from Joe that we can rely too much on things like CCTV. Irshad?
I was going to add a point that I think that we may rely a bit too much on technology. And I think it's good if you socialize with other people and people nowadays understand nowadays there's COVID. Can't really socialize much with people, social distancing.
In a way, you're the first person to mention COVID. I mean, it is a big subject. How does that stop people? I mean, how do we move forward with that? Is that something you see as a thing happening in the future, or do you think we're pretty much past it? What's your thoughts on it, Isha?
I think that it may affect us for quite a while, like COVID, maybe a couple more months until restrictions go down and things like that.
And what impact does that have?
People may become introverts,
introverts people, okay. Saj, I see that you wanted to come in on that. I'm going to come to you in a second, but I'm keen to get some of the quieter voices to hear what they've got to say. It could be about COVID, it could be about bringing the community together, what's happening online. We've got some new people joining. Angarad's made a point. What about enabling the community to hold their own barbecues and street parties without having to pay the council 400 quid for the privilege? Angarad, you might have to explain that, because I've had lots of barbecues and never paid the council 400 quid. If you do it in the park. Is that if you do it in the park?
No, so we're trying to organise a street party where I live in Enfield, and I think it's like 400 plus we have to pay the council. So we're trying to do it low key, so they don't find out, essentially. So which means we have to do it in each other's gardens.
So you're doing like a secret barbecue, because how does that work? That you have to pay 400 quid?
Because if you want to do it on the street, you have to close the streets down, and the council can't cover that. So it needs to be managed by the council, which is just rubbish. So we're doing it low key, but I just think that yeah, it's all well and good, you know, for us to be able to provide activities for the communities, but it's about enabling them to hold their own barbecues and their own parties and have dedicated spaces so they can feel like they, you know, they can own it and have barbecues in these places without having to pay any fines or, you know.
Okay. I mean, considering what we've been saying about how we want to bring the community, shouldn't the council be paying you to do a barbecue rather than taking money from you? I don't know. Is anyone here from any councils to answer this barbecue charge?
Maybe the way is to do it kind of secretly from garden to garden. Quite like that. I think in the back row here we're quite outraged by the thing. But I also wanted to. I was wondering whether people over here, whether you've got your favourite places around the area. Are there any places that you like going to? What are your kind of like recommendations? What are your favourite places in Aberfeldy?
Okay, favourite places.
Olympic Park. There's so many wood climbing frames and like high activities, and it's very like fun, and it has lots of space to run around.
And something for the barbecue, a little space for the barbecue sometimes as well on the side. Yeah, if you're having a little picnic there, summer days are the best there. I think they love it there because just run around, got plenty to do.
What do you think about this barbecue thing and the £400 charge?
If the council supply the meat and the chicken, I don't mind.
Okay, so with that 400 quid, there's another point over
transport. We use a lot of public transport rather than take the car there because the parking is an issue around there. DLR is closed and you got the bus. The transport links from this area again is absolutely local. You could literally to anywhere compared to other areas.
Okay. Oh, that's sorry. Sorry, wrong button there.
And do you have your favourite place? Is it also Olympic Park or maybe a different place?
What's your favourite place?
Near your house. Canberra Sands.
Canberra Sands.
There's a lot of people go swimming there, and little kids play on the sand, and adults would sunbathe.
Okay.
So like the bird sanctuary down next to Regeneration area. So that's one of the walkways they go through near opposite Millennium Dome where Regeneration is. So the bird sanctuary is there.
Yeah.
They're seeing all the ducks. They go feed the birds over there. So that's one of the second or third. That's our Sunday walk.
Okay. So there's quite a lot of cool places around and about. Some of them are a bit more of a drive like Canberra Sands, but some a bit closer like the bird sanctuary. Georgie, you've got a point over there.
It's not really a point. It's more, we haven't spoken about music. What's going on? How do people feel about having some music, like some live music? Well, I mean, you're playing it now, so it's all right. But like, music is like a big thing that brings people together. So having something like that. And then I was also thinking a library. How would people feel? You know, you get those pop-up libraries where people put books in, like old telephone boxes, like doing something like that.
Yeah.
Because then people go past and put their books in and take a book. And
I wonder what the lineup of Aberfeldy Music Festival would be.
Oh yeah,
who would we have?
I think now that we've pretty much lost all the young people to the chicken, it's probably, just grab that mic, it's probably easier. Yes. Oh, not that much, you go. I'll turn this one down, then it should work. Yeah, go.
Oh no, I was just going to say I quite whenever I go to a new area anyway, like it's always quite good if you know there's a library there because you know that there's somewhere to go where you don't have to pay money. Usually there's a toilet there as well, and I think those ones are quite like important to remember. So I don't know, that was just like actually having a proper, not just like a little book exchange, but an actual proper library. Then you can like
with a toilet as well and public conveniences.
Yeah, and you kind of get like I think when I was growing up, like I wouldn't be like going to town on my own, but my mum would probably like leave me in the library for an hour or something like that. Like you kind of feel it's a bit safer.
Okay, and it's a good place just to get rid of the kids as well.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, all right, so some good points. We've got all these people live. We've not really talked to you, and normally it's just there's been so much going on the street. People, turn on your cameras as well so we can see you. Some of you have, people like Louise and Trevor and Lucy, but some of you haven't, and we want to see your lovely faces.
I love how Reese has got a picture which looks like
it looks like he's just concentrating really hard.
Yeah.
But people turn on your cameras and talk to us as well. Tarek has been on there. Talk to Angarad has as well, but talk to us. This is where we test the miracle of technology. Does it actually really work? Have you got questions, comments, thoughts, observations? Okay, Louise, come in. Let me give you a round of applause. Go in.
I just wanted to say that I think a library is a really good idea. And I think it's quite interesting that there's been a really big talk. There's been a lot of talks about community, especially with the young people, which is really nice. So I think anything that brings the community together, so whether that be libraries or parties or youth centres and stuff like that, and barbecues, all those things are really important.
What do you think about this council charge of 400 quid for a barbecue? I know that's Enfield, but I mean, are we going the wrong way with this? Should we actually be investing in barbecues rather than charging for barbecues?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think £400 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit ridiculous. I think people should just be allowed to have a cheeky barbecue, you know?
Yeah, okay, so just maybe go on your own. But thank you, Louise, for those comments. Let's get some more from Let's get some more from the wider audience. Because I feel like I feel a bit bad for ignoring you a little bit. Anyone else got anything to say? Reese has turned his camera on. Or you just to ask for more applause? But have you got something to say as well, Reese?
Sure, I'll say something. Well, I just wanted to pick up on what Harriet was talking about before earlier on about the meanwhile use, and because I know there was a bit of confusion about what it is, and I just clearly Aberfeldy is a place undergoing change, and there's lots of big changes that have already happened and are planned, and it's about trying to make sure that there's things going on whilst that change is happening in the areas that are changing. So, for instance, where I live, the whole high street's being redeveloped. There is no high street.
Where is that?
That's in Brentford in West London.
Right.
So the whole south side of the high street's being done, which means there's no high street for like a mile. It's just a hoarding. And I think this is all about trying to make sure that you don't just have a dead space like that while things are being changed. And I think that's what I think how it was going to go on to say, and what I think the young people have been involved in is thinking about the meanwhile spaces and how that'll all be used. And I think it's a really good thing that, because it's not something that happens everywhere. It's not something that happens in every location. A lot of developers don't care about what's there or what isn't there while buildings are being knocked down.
It's not happening in Brentford, for example.
It's not happening where I am. So it's definitely a good thing, and it doesn't happen everywhere, and it should happen more. So I think it's a good thing.
It should be the way that things are done. Okay, we've got a new face. This is Talkaoke Pub Talk Show. You've missed a lot, but we've basically been talking about young people and how do we design the street? What is the role of really of architecture and planning and all these things, which can be a little bit, but part of it, I suppose, is how do you actually, make it more lively and more engaging. It's also, there's been lots of questions about security on the street. Is it a dead street? How do you keep the life going? There's all these questions that are happening there. So just hanging in there, and just like if you want to just raise your hand and let us know if you want to say something. Just let's get your name first of all before.
Michael.
Michael, welcome. My name's Mikey. Come get back involved in the conversation. Or are you going back inside? You're going to go. Give us a final thought before you go. Hang on, we want a final thought from you. You can't just escape like that. We need a final thought. Margaret's going to come round. Or you can use mic 1 if you want to. It's up to you.
I'm trying to do a chicken run.
That is a chicken run, exactly. Just before we go back to the online audience, what's your final thought, Nays, on all of this?
My thought is that the place, even though that it looks dead, the Aberfeldy project and the meanwhile, and in 10 years' time, it will be revived.
Yeah.
And everything will be better and it will be more lively.
Yeah. So you're looking forward to that?
Yeah.
And you're optimistic about all of this?
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for your great contribution. And that goes to, I'm just going to turn myself up a little bit. Anyone that's going, we want a final thought from you, please. Harriet, you wanted to answer a question, but also Lucy's got. We go to Lucy. You got your hand up there, Lucy. So do you want to come in on this conversation? Go on then, Lucy. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I used to live just near there, actually. I used to live in Mason. And I think that there's a load you could do in that street with pop-ups. Just one day things. I think it's awful that the council even think of charging 400 quid for a barbecue when it's going to enliven an area. People petitioning rent. I also wonder if there couldn't be.
Rick, can you just turn up that knob on the red device there for just a touch, because we can't hear you. The right hand knob, just a touch. Go on. Over to you, Lucy. Go on.
There must be loads of local talented young musicians who'd love a busker spot.
Okay, so we're back to the music thing that you think you can encourage.
Well, I think you can animate a space with music, and people gather around music, and it's a long enough space to have more than one spot.
Okay. So what about music and busking? Are we encouraging our young musicians in the area, or older musicians as well, to come and do a turn? Is that your point? Thank you, Lucy. Okay, that's pretty much a very good point as well. So what do other people think about that? Harriet, I know you wanted to come in. Maybe you could also deal with that one a little bit as well.
Yeah. I just wanted to talk about that concept of meanwhile, and that it is something. This has been a really interesting conversation to hear all these ideas, and what I think it should be starting now. You know, in a way, it started when we began this process of conversation. But now we can start doing some of these things straight away. You know, we could have a great summer event, and that could lead into something. Meanwhile, use project doesn't have to be this massive thing that takes a while to. The whole idea is it can be something as simple as planting bed that allows the kids we were talking about this week about learning how to grow food, and then a music event, and then it's something that grows. And by the time the development starts and construction hoarding goes up everywhere, they've already found a new place to get together, and the community is kind of sharing and they're having a good time throughout a period that there is change before the bigger development.
Okay. There's a point from Tom.
There was this young lady mentioned about the Olympic Park, and we had a big discussion with the London Park school students about why they like the Olympic Park. And one of the reasons was that the courtyards for the different properties were not locked. And we went to see another development with this group of young people. There was about 14 of them that went on a trip to look at other properties in the area. And one of the things that made them feel like it was a red space, so a space that's not comfortable for them, is that they couldn't get into it. Or that if it's locked, it means that you're not allowed to play in there, so it's a quiet space. But the Olympic Park, like you mentioned, is very different to that. And a lot of people have mentioned about barbecues and having open space where there's music, and that is what the Olympic Park offers. There's barbecue space that's dedicated, you don't have to pay £400, and that you can go and you can rock up and have a barbecue. So those spaces are what these students were really telling us that they would like to see, is that spaces that are not locked off to young people. And this group were extremely considerate. They kept talking about what their parents would like, what their grandparents would like, and we were really trying to get them to understand what is it that your age group need. And for them, it was just a space to be, a space where they felt comfortable to have their friends.
I mean, I've definitely picked that up. I think it was Javid that said right from the very beginning, it's not just about us, it's about people, all the people that live here, but also people that come and visit. And I think that's a really nice point.
I think, Tom, you've just put that really brilliantly, actually. And it's the thing that we as architects, I can't work out whether this is a waterfall or a barbecue that you're playing.
It's a barbecue, sorry.
Makes me want to get the loo.
Sorry, I forgot I left it on, actually.
I was going to say that actually, the point of engagement is that we're really talking about the stuff that it is that we do as architects, and the spaces and the places we make, and what it's like between buildings, how you get in through the front door, where your garden is, what the height of your fence. Let's get down to the stuff that we really do, the way we compose buildings.
Just ask you, Diana, do you think people understand?
Well, let me just tell you why they do, because I think this is what's really interesting, and that comment that Tom just made was really insightful. So the process is quite carefully structured to build up skills whilst we're listening at the same time. So the first thing we do is we look at their local area, and do you remember I told you that the AV space was the place that they felt more kind of safe and free, and that's not accidental. It's open to everybody, although some of the courtyards are locked off, but the main space is open to everybody. And Ershad, I think, was talking about how he would play all day with his family there. I think it was Ershad. And he was very keen to take us to the fountains, but there was the idea that this was a real place that he enjoyed and he really liked. And they recognised some of that when they went to see a new development. So when we take them to a new development, we're getting them to assess a place that they don't know yet. Because all of us, whatever age we are, we fall back on kind of preconceptions when we read a new place and we kind of go, oh, it's like this, it's dead, it's like that. Actually, we know it's full of life. It's just that people are indoors, like you're saying. So they recognised and said this really interesting comment. They said, I think this feels like a place where you could trust your neighbours. And we were wondering why that was. So we're talking about really detailed, sensitive architectural moves, like, can you leave a chair outside your back door and enjoy that space, put your feet up and watch people pass by? If you can, then you can see that because the chair is there, or that someone's put their own pot plant out, and he could see that, and we can have those conversations about the architecture and the places that we make. And this is why it's quite a serious endeavour, because we're trying to get them to draw out that language that we're doing. So it's a subtle skill building exercise so that they can interrogate our proposals and see if they can recognise some of those features.
Okay, so in a way it's kind of like actually getting people to understand, that in a way it's the sort of feel of architecture, or the kind of, how things are, and we've said already, well, I've said actually, and I do apologise, that it can be a little bit kind of, when it's written in a list or a report or, a master plan, it can be a bit dry, but actually it's about really important things about feeling.
It's about making that connection back to your own lived experience. Everybody has a lived experience. Everybody was once a child. Everybody remembers that feeling. And this I forgot what I was going to say, but this is the process that we use, and the way in which they've managed to engage with that at a very specific level is really, really critical. And it's quite contextual as well, because they're talking about Aberfeldy and they're saying things to us like, I don't really want to go to the park round the corner because it's too far away. I want to play, and hang out and play football outside my front door. And we're like, okay, so you're like teenagers and you still want to play football. So it's like remembering that they want to be able to just be kind of safe and free, right on their own doorstep. And yet, the trouble is, unfortunately, we're designing communities thinking that only 0 to 5-year-olds need to be outside their front door. Teenagers need to walk 800 metres to a Muga. And it's like, they don't want to do that. They want to be able to hang out with their friends outside their door. Sorry, I've taken up a bit of time, but they're not here. I'm kind of speaking for them. And I think it's really, I think the team really gets that because we've listened for hours and hours really to what they have to say.
Okay, we've got some new faces here just to fill you in. We're talking about designing this space, how it is at the moment between the designs, and also I guess what it's going to be like in the end, this idea of a meanwhile space, which is a space that's kind of under development, but also interesting things are happening. There's all this stuff going on. Talkaoke is a think-along talk show. Evan, you've got a point, but also I want to just also get some more comments from people online, because I think the online audience, apart from Louise, we've had 3 comments from online people. 4. We've had Lucy, Louise, Tariq and Angarad, but there's 16 people online, so we need to have some more comments from.
There was a comment there.
There's some stuff in the chat.
The lady that I'm looking at now, she had a hand up, but I can't see her name because she's too far away.
Oh, Jeanette, come on, in you come.
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm just going to make you big.
So there's been a lot of talk about what sort of events can be done and things, and I was wondering, are there any events organised in the near future already, sort of like barbecues or social events, aside from just sort of community consultations?
Okay, what events are actually in the plan itself, and how we're responding to some of these ideas? Tariq said that's a really good point made, but I don't know what the point Tariq's referring to is. Maybe it's the thing about the street tea dance for older and younger people.
That's correct, because I think having younger people playing on the streets is what's needed.
Yeah. Okay. So we're still in Jeanette there, but thank you, Tariq. And there was a point from Hamza.
Like if you do a street party, you gotta like keep you're gonna have to be careful with the noise because people will come and like pray in the mosque. So we gotta like try to take the noise down.
What about you saying it could be too noisy?
Yeah, like that people should just try to keep the noise down. So like,
yeah.
So people can.
It's probably worth me saying apologies to anyone that is listening that doesn't want to listen. There's a point over here.
We've got right here.
Okay, and Evie, you wanted to make a point as well, didn't you? But go on, Eleanor.
Well, people asking about an event, and we went to see Year 9 who had lots of great ideas about an event. Big Local tends to do a summer event every August, July. We didn't do one last year, and boring, COVID again. So Tower Hamlets Council doesn't actually ask 400 quid for barbecues, but you do have to put in a licence. Yeah. The licence applications are taking longer, and because cases are going up, it would be too risky to invest time and money in a summer event. So we're going to push it back till winter. So all the great ideas that the Year 9s had, and all the other ideas that people drop into the shop. We've got our suggestions box filling up about what we should do. We thought we'd wait till actually the clocks go back and celebrate the fact that it's dark, have fairy lights, have maybe fireworks, and hopefully by then we'll be able to do it more safely. Also, they had so many ideas, and I know the bubble tea got mentioned again. Bubble tea is so popular that would be something that would bring people to the area. We do have a space in which we could trial bubble tea. We're doing so no events, because they're just a little bit too big. It's the wrong message at the moment.
We're going to have a bubble.
We're going to try out what bubble tea makes. In fact, I'm going to get the stuff, and the young people are going to try it, and Tom's going to help out with that. You know, we've got a kitchen. There must be a way of doing bubble tea. It's yet to be learned.
Okay, so that's something to be investigated. If anyone knows anything about the bubble tea, then let us know, because we need to know. Anyone that's leaving, give us a final thought before you go. Javid, have you got a final thought? Give us a final. That could be anything at all. It could be about the chat, everything we've talked about so far. It could be something we missed that we should be talking about. Margaret's going to come round, so you don't need to. It's up to you, really.
I think that it's nice bringing everyone together, and I just really like it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been a good experience this thing. Can I just ask you, just while you're there, if you're optimistic, are you optimistic about the future, and what are you looking forward to in how this project unfolds?
Making a safe place for everyone, and enjoyable as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks very much. Thanks for your contributions, it's been fantastic.
We also had a hand up here.
There's a hand up here. I'm also keen, because I know we've got this video that we're supposed to be playing, so maybe we should play with it. Let's get a few more comments, and then maybe we'll play the video.
So I think that there may have been a comment about bubble tea, but
what
are your views on bubble tea?
I know that English was just bubbleology, so then the people can come here and the younger teens can come here and get it from here.
So you like the bubble tea idea?
We've also got a new bubble tea place open up just across the road. We can see all the youngsters going there. You literally for these new craze for foods.
So we need to catch up on that, basically.
Yes, we do.
Okay. What's your name?
Ubaid.
And Cypher.
Yusuf.
Yusuf.
Zinaira. Humaira.
Okay. Cordula. And do any of you know how to make bubble tea? You do? Okay.
They've learned a bit from YouTube.
Okay, fantastic.
They've learned a bit from YouTube,
You can find out anything on YouTube. Okay, is it time to play the video? Just have a little break and then okay, Joe, come. Okay. Hang on. Yep.
There've just been a couple of comments, and I just sort of wanted to say how amazing it is, how respectful everybody is about each aspect of the community. We've been really struck by that in recent months. Yeah. And it just feels amazing that, young people talking about too much noise and people praying and, and then other conversations about, not, just being respectful. And I think that's really rare, and that's something extraordinary in Aberfeldy that needs to be celebrated.
It is. I mean, I think it's a very special place. We've been here 5 years, and I think it's unique. We have some round of applause from some of the young people here.
Shall we get some names?
Okay, let's get some names quickly. What's your name?
Lyra.
Lyra, welcome. And we've got your name, but I'm sorry, I've forgotten it. Michael, that's right, yeah.
Alex.
And
Odin.
And have you guys got anything to kind of add? Are you local? Are there anything?
Okay,
I grew up on Metric Street on the estate, so I've seen a lot of changes. But with the pandemic playing out as it has, and like we've had 300,000 people leaving London, they say, does it really demand this sort of density to be built anymore? Is a demand going to be there in the next 5 years? Because those that can afford to live here, paying those sort of prices, will probably move out and get a garden somewhere.
Okay, so has the shock of COVID changed the whole plan? How does that? I think that's another one we'll park until after the video, because I feel like you want the conversation to go on a bit longer. Okay, so maybe we'll keep this conversation going. But Evie, you've got a point over here. Evie, what's your point? You've got your own one there.
I don't know if it is working there again. I think like all the stuff that's been going on, it sounds really great, and it sounds like well, actually I live quite close anyway, but Aberfeldy is a really special place. But I always worry, especially when you're doing like a lot of research of like, oh, how do you want your house to be in the future and all that kind of thing, especially with this master plan stuff. My experience from developments in London is that if you already live in a place that's going to be like have a big tower block put on, you often get offered like the price of the house or the price of the house as it is or 10 years ago. And then what that means is then you can't then afford a house where your house is, because then, you end up having to move out further out and stuff like that. I mean, it sounds like there's loads of research, like all the architects here seem really passionate about it, but like at the end of the day, is that still what's going to happen with the developers as well? Like, are all the changes now actually going to affect the people who live here now?
And where does the finance, come into this? So what about the money side? Obviously, the aspiration and the ambition is kind of, really big. Hang on a sec, Cypher. If you're off, we want a final thought from you. Okay, we'll keep an eye on the kids, but. Yes. What about the money side? Obviously everyone loves this aspirations, but is it going to be realistic and practical? But Michael, maybe the other thing is these flats will become a lot cheaper if everyone's moving out. So maybe it'll be the opposite. I don't know. It's just a question out there, and to the people online as well, because I feel like once again it's really hard to do these hybrid events, because I always feel like I'm ignoring either the live people or the online people. So. I mean, what do you think about that as well, if you've got any views on some of these questions? Okay, anyone at all? Oh no, I just turned it down because you were there's a lot of handling noise.
I was just going to say that we don't need to even play the video today because the conversation's been going so well. But I'm interested in.
Maybe can we put a link to the video so if people want to watch it, they can watch it into the chat.
And also, it is after 8 o'clock, so obviously people who came here to kind of be here until 8 o'clock, the 8 o'clock is out. But we are still going until 9:30 because it's. So it happened. Hopefully we won't get arrested for that. Because this event has coincided with our monthly Aberfeldy Live Talkaoke. We're here every last Thursday of each month. So we will carry on. So if you need to go. But also, if you are enjoying the conversation, do stay. So that's it. That's kind of what I wanted to say about this bit.
What we're saying is we could put a link to the video in the chat.
We can put a link to the video.
If they want to.
Exactly, because the team here had made a video about what's going on here in Aberfeldy. Is there anything else to kind of say other than massive thank you to all the students who came here today and have put in such an amazing work. Oh, we've got points from over there. And obviously EcoWorld and the London Festival of Architecture.
Well, can't we just
I need
use
to use this
one
one.
that's there
So
already?
it is working
Yeah.
now.
No, it's just that's the closest to the speaker, so we have to keep that quite quiet. Yeah, go on.
I was just gonna ask if you can give like a huge round of applause to everybody here in the PFC right there.
Big up PFC.
Hopefully everyone has got their chicken now.
I think I also learned something. The AV grill, as it says on the sign, is from Aberfeldy Village.
We thought it meant audio visual.
That's what we thought. This we have
Because
5
all
minutes.
the AV people and now the AV grill.
There's AV supplies. But there you go. But yeah, big up everyone and big up PFC, aka AV grill. Both. But yeah, so that's kind of what's going on. That's where we're at. Mike, you're welcome to swap around as well. But
I was going to use the video as a way of actually kind of sneaking out and getting someone else to go into the middle of the table.
Why don't we do that?
But no, there's no point now. We can keep it fresh, but it's a question of who from the people speak team wants to go in the middle. Evie, we were talking to you about it. Margot, you could go in. Who wants to go in the middle? You know, one of you is going to have to volunteer.
Happy to. If yeah, oh my God.
Okay, so we're going to have a little swap around. Evie's going to stay on the sliders. We're going to keep this conversation hot. Oh, hang on, before we do that, I feel like we're going to need to get some final thoughts.
Yes, we do.
Then, Margot, you're going to go in the middle. So let's get the final thoughts in first. But we are keeping this hot. This is going to be sizzling for another hour or so. So stay online if you want to stay in with this conversation. Let's get some final thoughts from all the young people here. Irshad, final thought?
I was just gonna say that draw more attention from like people that don't live in AB or even people that live in like around Aberfeldy and stuff. Like there was a more larger variety of different shops. Like there's stuff like gaming cafes, cat cafes, poverty places, tech shops, local supermarkets, etc.
Okay, so a bit more variety of shops. But Leanne, have you got a final thought? Are you staying here?
I think just
I'm going to turn that one down.
I think just a bubble tea shop would be really good. And nice few benches around it. And nice few benches around it to sit around, like near the fountain.
Okay, so actually some public seating out there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get some other final thoughts. Are there other final thoughts?
No.
Final thought? In the way you had your
My final thoughts are, I think we should have a supermarket which is open 24 hours. But overall, I really do like Aberfeldy Village. Yeah.
Okay. Any other final thoughts? No final thoughts? An initial thought? Just no? Okay. Any other thoughts? Tom, are you going to be going with these? Are you staying here? Okay. Tom, have you got a final thought?
I think it's been really great to see the young people engage in the designs. It's quite a difficult thing if you've never got involved in architecture or master planning before to even switch your mind on to what that might be.
Absolutely.
And these guys have really embraced that. And not only have they embraced this project, they've started to come together as a group and really want to make change in their local area together. So let's face it, a lot of people here are going to do a fantastic job, but they'll move on to the next project. These young people are going to be in the community hopefully for a very long time, and they're going to be here with their families too. So the fact that they've come together to create change, they can see their input in the design, and in the future they'll be the next leaders of their community, I think is fantastic. So I've got real hope and faith in it.
That's great stuff, and it is inspiring as well, and hopefully that will come. And as you said, Tom, it is quite a hard thing to get your head around. I spent all day today getting my head around all these different things, and the things that, as an ordinary punter, you don't necessarily think about how design affects a space. So that's really, really good. But we're going to keep the conversation going. If we've got no more final thoughts, we're going to have a quick change around. I'm going to play some theme music, but people online, don't go away. We're going to keep this going. People here, don't go away. We're going to keep this going. We're just going to change hosts. It's just a standard change of hosts, nothing to worry about.
Common practice that the people speak, so don't worry about it at all.
Don't worry about that, just stay where you are if you want to. And we're going to keep this conversation going, we're going to get more snacks out, so and we're going to get some soft drinks, so stay online, and we're going to swap over.
What's that changing over music? Ooh, that's strictly from dancing. So we're back in. Welcome. Am I on? I am on. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to Talkaoke Part 2. Following from Part 1, of course. Welcome to this bit now. This is especially after changing hosts. So I'm going to say hello to people online. There's Lucy, there's Louise, Harriet, Gillian, Abby and Reese, who's waving, and Lucy's also waving. I hope that you're waving because you're staying and you're just saying hello. Hopefully you have more people. Yes, it's a thumbs up from Reese. And people out on the street, get involved if you so wish. We were talking about architecture, we were talking about young people, the future, AV Grill. We've got some people standing there. Come and join us. Come and grab a seat at the table of chat. But I'm completely open at this stage for any change of subject, any kind of suggestion of a new subject. Okay, Evie, I feel like you've got something. I mean, Evie, if that's your name, I don't know. Hello, I'm Evie. I'm just, I'm quite local, so I go to Chris Street quite like regularly, because it's probably like my nearest post office, and that's where quite a few shops there and stuff like that. So I guess I just want to, I'm looking forward to the master plan in terms of probably use this area more, because usually I come down here if I'm passing through on my way to the Olympic Park or something else. But yeah, I just still don't know who's decided about the master plan. Is it the council saying right, this area needs to be regenerated? Is it the people in the buildings are right, okay, these aren't fit for purpose? I'm quite I feel like I don't know a lot about the master plan. Right. So master plan, who made it? Who's in charge? Please remind me your name because I was not paying attention.
I'm Jo from Bernstein. To answer really good question, and maybe we should have said that right at the beginning. But so the master plan, it's a kind of evolving thing. So originally in 2012, we as designers, architects, and master planners, landscape architects, all came together with Poplar Harker and with a private developer and designed the first master plan, which is these 3 phases you can see in front of you are being built out. So there's almost about 900 homes in that part of the master plan. And that was approved. It goes through a planning process and is approved by the council. So it's approved by Tower Hamlets. And as part of that process, lots of people are involved, and local councillors and the planning committee and everybody have to approve it. And as local people, you can object to it or you can support it, and it's a public process. And we've come now back after having built a lot of the master plan, and we're being given an opportunity to design a new one, which just means that we can extend the red line boundary, so we can do more. The first 3 phases have been really successful and really well supported, but there is a lot, as was said today, a lot we can do with the High Street and also the Nairn Street estate, which is north of Abbott Road. That's all going to be part of the new master plan, so it's expanded, it's bigger. So now we go through the same process as we did in 2012, where we talk to local people, design the master plan with Poplar Harker and Icaweld, who are the private developer. They're in a 50-50 partnership called Aberfeldy LLP. So they're our client. They employ us to design a new master plan with the community. We're discussing it with Tower Hamlets through the planning process at the moment. And ultimately, we'll make a planning submission in the autumn. And then we hope that will be approved and we start building.
So that was just in case you were wondering, that was a rundown of how a master plan. If I say master, I can't say plan. I've just figured it out. It has to be master plan. So now you know how a master plan gets devised. There's lots of permissions, lots of stages of development. I hope that answers some of your questions. Meanwhile, we have got some new people. Hello over there. And we've got some new faces around the table here. Why don't we get a round of names? And hello, also over there, Saiful and everyone. If you still fancy a little sit down, you're more than welcome. I'm just going to do a casual round of names, starting from this side. What is your name? Hello, John. You're on mic 5. Wonderful. We've got Joe. And who have we got here? I am Sue. Hey, Sue. Georgia. And we've still got, because I've got a very short memory, so I already forgot everybody's name. So grab a mic and let's hear your name.
Let's hear that.
Oh, anybody? Humaira, welcome. Fahana, welcome. We've got the singer's gentleman over there. You're welcome to cheer over there. What was his name? Ray. Welcome, Ray. And Margot, by the way. Who have we got over there?
Saiful.
Wait. What's that?
Wonderful. Zanira.
Evie.
And Evie's a known face. I'm Marvin. This is Mikey. We've got Lara over there. And we've got Rick inside. He just communicates through visual, so you won't see him. You may see him. He's like a black swan. But anyway, we've got a whole bunch of people online. We've got Lisa, Maurice, Abby, Harriet, and I'm on it twice. So there you go. So at the moment, what we're talking about, and we've got a new face over there, and her name is... I don't know. Who knew? I don't know that. Right, so this is where we are. So Eddie was talking about being based here locally, doing shopping, and using post office down in Crisp Street and that kind of area. We were talking about master plan and what actually constitutes all these different developments, how they come about, and Joe kind of gave us a little breakdown. So this is where we are at. We are open to changing subject, talking about architecture, continuing to talk about architecture. We've got a man over there. His name is Mikey, I believe. We've got a point.
Number 6. I just want to say, we've got some more drinks and snacks if anyone wants some. Soft drinks, some Diet Cokes and some San Pellegrinos. The only thing is I've got a dodgy leg, so I can't, I'm just going to bring it out and people are going to have to get it themselves, but just help yourself, I put it on the table.
So was this an opportunity just to kind of get a little for your leg? Sound effects, somebody? Thank you, Mikey. So anybody in any order, and that includes you people online. Reese, I can see that you're snacking already. You have provided your own snacks, which is fine. It's totally...
I ordered in my own fried chicken because I was going to come down tonight and I couldn't, and have chicken from the AV and I couldn't, so I've ordered it in.
Okay, is it because you also have a gammy leg, or why couldn't you come here? I mean, we can talk about that. We can talk about legs. We can talk about chicken.
They clash, I'm afraid. So I shouldn't be talking with my mouth full. That's the problem. So.
It's like, listen, that's okay. That's totally fine. And once more, I will just make it big. This whole thing. Can I make it big like this? Hopefully, I can. Anyway, so as you can see, is this flux time where anything goes. Where shall we take it? Shall we talk about chicken, direct clashes, continue talking about Aberfeldy Street? Are we still bigging up AV Group? I know I am. Soon. Eleanor is on the snacks. I mean, do you have favorite snacks? What about young people here? What do you guys want to talk about? Do you have any subjects that we haven't yet discussed? Yeah, grab a mic.
My bike's got stolen.
Your bike has got stolen.
And my sister's bike got stolen. My sister's bike got stolen.
Oh no! Where was it? Was it in Aberfeldy? Grab a mic so the people online can hear, because this is how it works.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it working? Oh yes.
Yeah. We hope it's working. Yeah. What happened?
My sister's bike.
My sister's bike and my brother's bike and my other sister's bike got stolen in our square near here.
it wasn't just one bike, it was multiple bikes. I mean, it's a thing. I mean, so for you want to...
Yes, we've been talking about getting a bike shed for since the Grenfell incident, the past 2 years, I think it's been 2 years now, isn't it? Since the council has been more strict on keeping bikes on the lobbies, where it's more safe, or the thieves can't get to it, it's locked up. But rather they prefer us to lock it up outside the square. But then again, it's still getting stolen. Still getting stolen outside the square, right in front of our flats. There are no other ways of putting the bike there.
Yeah.
Apart from that place, or take it into a lobby, which is deemed a health and safety hazard.
So it seems like quite a tough trade-off. You're either kind of...
Now that summer's here, I think stolen bikes are a bit... Bikes getting stolen.
So stolen bikes, I mean, is there no kind of other solution? Is it either safety within the building or you get your bike nicked outside? I'm going to come to you, Evie, shortly, but you've got a point that you want to jump in with?
So when we went to the beach, my sister and the other sister's bike got stolen when they was going to come beside the beach, and then a couple of days before, my bike got stolen.
Oh, that is just terrible, terrible news. So what did you think about safety? I mean,
safety, I think you should make a shed, the council, so then we can look our bikes.
Right, so it's safety, let's build a shed, let's have some kind of...
The council should be promoting people using their bikes more often rather than cars, buses, and it does cut a lot of...
I mean, I have to say, the buses that come here, I really like all the bus drivers. They're really cool. They're always very
I'm one as well.
But I'm working on it. But they make a lot of noise, so bicycles actually are better. But let's get the safety sorted first as well. People I hear are saying, Evie, did you want to just jump in? Yeah,
I found that since you can get cheaper tools, you can get like axle grinders that are battery powered. And it just means that every time you leave that on the street, like it's gonna, even if you have a really expensive lock or something like that, they just get stolen. And so you just have to end up keeping it in your house. But then like the walls might get marked, or like it's in the way. So it's like I know you can get those like hooded ones from the council, but again, you tend to have to pay to get access to that, and there's always a really long waiting list for it.
Should there be some kind of regulation on access to power tools, the angle grinders, and that kind of stuff to keep everyone safe? I've got some points from people online at last, unprompted as well. So Lucy and then Reese, because Reese, you were doing the clapping thing, so God knows what you meant by that. But I'm going to go to Lucy. I'm going to go to you, Reese. I would like to just go and do the view pin. Sorry, it's the first time I'm using Zoom actually. No, it's not. Go on, Lucy, take it away. Any tips on angle grinders?
I just have a bit of a challenge. I mean, first, my mouth is watering for AV Grill because I've not had anything to eat tonight.
You're more than welcome to be with us.
Welcome. A place where I used to live when I was in London. Sadly, I don't live in London anymore. That used to do a community quiz. And I was just wondering if the council wouldn't allow a nice summer community quiz run by the AV Grill and to bring lots of people together, because everybody seems to think that the AV Grill is the place.
I think a lot of people will agree with you. AV Grill is the place. And you're talking about community quiz. I mean, could the quiz be about Aberfeldy area? Could it be about food? What could the quiz be about? And can council get on it? These are some of the questions. Reese, did you want to contribute something, or are you just snacking still?
No, I've finished what I was eating for now, so I can talk. I just wanted to come back on a couple of things, a couple of questions from before the break. Your colleague Dave there, whose name I haven't caught. Hello, and the gentleman who was talking about density, and I just thought it was and whether there's demand is there, and just thought it was really interesting because I should point out I do work for the project team, so just to point out, I do think obviously there is still a very big housing demand in the country. There's quite a big housing crisis. It's part of the drivers of why costs are so high. But crucially in London as well, you have a real affordability issue. And what is often really needed is social housing, home council housing available at social rent and all the rest of it. And in terms of, density and why that all happens, I mean, part of the feature of this scheme is that it's re-providing homes to the people who are tenants of Poplar Harker on the same sort of, basically with the same sort of space that they've got now, but a better modern flat. So so it's providing enough for the existing community as is and more on top at that level. But of course, to make that work, you have to also provide more private sale flats as well. And that sort of drives why you have to go up. But then as people like Joe will explain, and Harriet, which was there before, that comes with a trade-off. So if you're going to do extra density, you need to provide extra green spaces and extra public realm and extra public spaces that are better for the community and create this sort of interaction that we're talking about, and provide those nice spaces for young people to use and for people to gather and for people to, listen to music or have barbecues or whatever. And I think that's what's really interesting about this project, is there's a real focus on that public space element, and also on delivering, making sure that this does deliver for the existing tenants. And I think that's where, it's a really unique partnership, having a housing association that is really interested in making sure it provides for its community, as Poplar Harker is, with EcoWorld. There's a real focus on delivering both elements and looking after the existing tenants. And I don't think you would have got over 90% in support of estate regeneration, or over 90% turnout for that vote, if people didn't, trust that Poplar Harker and EcoWorld will follow through on what they promised. And what's really interesting working with the design team and seeing all of the work we're doing, talking to the community, is that they're very genuine about that. And it's really a very important part of what everyone is trying to do on the project. So that's my 5-minute pitch. And if someone can fix the...
It's a very strong pitch, very dense. Thank you so much. You mentioned the social housing, and maybe sometimes it's a very green pitch. I will just say, Abby, I know that you have to go, but we've got a rule on Talkaoke table, which is before you go, give us your final thought. Don't disappear into the abyss without letting us know what you thought. And it could be something that came to you in the course of this conversation, a new thought, a question, something that you may want to leave us with. Come in, Abby, and maybe give us your final thought before we move on. You may have already gone, who knows? But you're still here. Or put it in the chat if you can't face just speaking out loud. But okay, so social housing, Poplar Harker is listening to people. It's a unique partnership here on the street. A lot of people are engaged in that consultation. People are supporting, from what you're saying, Reece, people are supportive of the regeneration. I mean, what do other people think on the street? I mean, we can talk about bike crime, or actually bike safety, maybe we should rephrase it. And kind of, green spaces. Is there enough trade-off happening? Oh, we've got a new person joining on the chat. As I was just about to finish doing the recap, so I'm not going to recap again. Typical, classic Talkaoke. Welcome, Stephen. You probably can't hear me yet. That's fine. Hi, Stephen. Right, so these are just some of the questions and some of the topics on the out here. I mean, Ray, do you have any views on social housing or any of the kind of conversations? And do you want any snacks? More to the point. But if you at some point need some snacks or a drink, please let us know, because we've got to hear anything from you guys. Anything about kind of social housing and what's kind of happening in the area. Joe, go ahead.
I just wanted to say about the bike crime, because it's come up a lot actually, and over a long period of time. And I remember, Mikey, when you did, was it 3 years ago you did the event here, and there was the DJ on the street, and it's about 3 years ago. And I remember something, it was a long time ago, wasn't it? Maybe 2. And the desire to cycle and for all ages to be able to cycle came up then. And from everybody that you were talking to at that event. And it's been a really big part of the conversation that we've had with children and staff at Coludon School. and they ran this event called a Big Pedal, which was 2 weeks where they gave out bike lights, and you guys might already know about it, but it's from a really low base of nobody walking and cycling to the school, or a very, very low proportion, and everyone jumping in their cars. Suddenly 80% of all pupils came to school using sustainable forms of travel within a 2-week period of time. So it shows that there's an amazing amount of thirst for people to cycle in the area of all ages. And I think certainly some of the meanwhile uses that we were talking about, some of the smaller scale things that we can do to transform things now can be around bike storage for people. So the very things you were sort of talking about not being able to store your bike in your core or your corridor or close to your home, but actually having to leave it outside. If we could create a series of temporary, until the bigger construction happens, bike storage spaces that are safe and secure and you have keys to, then that's an instant response to a real issue that you're experiencing now.
Well, hang on, grab a mic, yes.
I say, sorry, yeah? If they're telling you to leave the bike outside, it's there, and it gets stolen, yeah, it's their fault for telling you to lock it outside, because it's safe in the place, because no one can get into the place. So they should put a shed there for people to put the bike in, you know? That's exactly what should be done.
Yeah, so Georgia, we've got a point as well. So there's a lot about kind of safety if you want people to keep their bikes on the street, make sure they're locked up.
I was just going to say something along those lines, like where I used to live, I lived at the top of like 4 flights of stairs, and often I would get home and I couldn't be bothered to take my bike all the way upstairs, but it was a year waiting list to get one of those spaces for locking it up. So I used to bring it up the stairs, and I wonder if, like, when you're redeveloping these buildings, if it could be included in like the building design, like just as a feature, just as a generic feature, because then I think it would make people's lives a lot easier in terms of looking it up rather than having to wait a whole year. And then also, I think maybe, I don't know if bike stealing has increased since COVID, because I know that a lot of people were really struggling to buy bikes, especially last year. Like, you couldn't buy a second-hand bike, you couldn't. So I think a lot of that it might have increased anyway, but I don't know. I haven't looked at the statistics, so yeah.
Okay, thank you, Georgia. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a cosmetic here. Removing the chat. It's a message from Abby. Thank you, Abby, for taking me up on the offer. Well, putting your thoughts in the chat. Your internet is not so good. Final thoughts. We need more conversations like this to make our young people's voices heard. All of the young people spoke so well and would really like to reconnect again to chat further of these important topics. So this is young people getting a shout out from Abby, who's now gone, but thank you very much, Georgia. So if you want people to use bicycles, make sure this is a generic feature. It's not something you actually have to pay for. Can you incorporate that? Yes, this young man is totally agreeing, I think. So this is where, Reese, you had your hand up. So Joe, you wanted to respond, and I'm going to come to you, Reese. Go on.
Fantastic. Just a really quick point, but in all the new housing that we're designing, there will be integrated bike storage, and that absolutely is a requirement. So it will, and actually the proportions are really quite high now for bike storage. It's not just one space per home, but it depends how big the home is, how many bikes you have to provide for. So, okay, that's a new one on me, but that's definitely something for consideration. Unicycles are fine because they're smaller.
Okay, so are we accommodating enough for unicycles and what's the other ones? The tandems. But it's really great to hear there's going to be more kind of storage already within the development. So Reese, take it away.
I was just going to chip in as a Londoner and a cyclist that had 2 bikes stolen from my balcony back in February. That this is a London-wide problem that everyone seems to have, and I'm not sure it's an area that
Reese, 1 second. I'm really sorry to cut you off mid-flow. We've got people just leaving.
Yeah,
and you know the rules.
It's bedtime soon, so that's why.
Totally fine. Give us your final thoughts or initial thoughts or whichever thoughts.
Well,
from this meeting today, I hope those words some of us have said, the ideas and words that we have said can be put into action very soon. Sooner the better. We can promote it more healthier living, more safer, more enjoyable life, I guess. I mean, that's what life is about, enjoying it. At the end of the day, whether it's with the community, family, friends, it should be all the same, enjoyable. So
thank you so much. Thanks for stopping by and thank you for bringing everybody. So I hope to see you guys again, maybe on the street or another Talkaoke. But thank you so much. Enjoy your dinners, and thank you for introducing the subject of bike crime. A big subject for Reese for sure. Oh yeah, there's some more final thoughts. Yes, please.
I can't wait till this gets better.
What's that?
I can't wait till this gets better.
Yes, exactly. Well, we also can't wait. Hopefully it's not too bad in this kind of present company. But let's see how things can improve post-COVID and everything. So thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy your dinner, everybody. Thank you very much. So, Reese, we're going to come back to you. You had your 2 bicycles, and we have been paying attention. Well, I have anyway. You had 2 bicycles stolen. Where's the music?
Pivoting back to bicycles, because it's a tangent, and we should be focusing on the young people saying that they want the change to happen, which I think was very much what the event was supposed to be about. So it's really nice to hear them say it uncoerced. So yeah.
No, thank you for being uncoerced, sharing your thoughts. And Larice, you've just exhaled, and we could hear it. And I was wondering whether you would like to. I think mine is working. Is there anything from you? Are you a cyclist? Have you?
Just to finish my point quickly,
it
sounds like Joe may have already cracked it in design terms on this project, but it feels to me that it's one of the few areas that sort of the new urban design hasn't really got to grips with yet. Is cycle storage and cycle parking, because what happens is wherever you store it, right, the criminals get smarter at stealing them, and the only really place people feel ever safe to store their bikes is in their flats, on their balconies, which of course you're often not allowed to do as part of the terms of the lease. So it just feels like it's one of those things that's still an ever developing thing that architects to crack. But just a thought.
For the architects to work on. Meanwhile, we've got some people leaving. And Lucy, okay, Lucy, you go. Do what you've got to do, and then we'll take your final thoughts. So go and come back. Or no, just go now. Okay, Lucy's got a final thought. Lucy's.
I can't believe this is our first Talkaoke, and I hope it's not our last.
We also hope that. quit the sad music.
Yeah.
After the beats. Right. So any kind of thoughts you're gonna. Yeah, no, but that was for Reese's story about the bicycles. We're not doing
Sorry, I have to
anymore.
go because I don't have bike lights for my bicycle.
Oh, fine. Go and be safe. But thank you so much for stopping by and getting involved. Hopefully not the last time. And any more final thoughts?
Just thank you so much. It's been really amazing. And thank you to the AV Grill. Had a really nice chat with the guy. Everyone's lovely. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks, girls. Thank you for getting involved. Safe cycling. Lucy, come on in.
Hiya, I'm in deep envy of Reese, as I'm going to have to go and make a baked potato and cheese now.
Can I come?
It's been a great evening, and it's so good to hear people being respectful and thoughtful and contributive. And I think that means that the project as a whole must have engendered that right from the beginning.
Okay, so the project is actually about the people and what they kind of make the project to be in a way. It's for making connection and being respectful. And thank you so much, Lucy, for sticking around all this time and enjoy your baked potato. I'm a little bit jealous. Thank you so much. So this is where we're at. And it also needs to go, and hopefully, Laura, you're raising your hand because you don't have to go. Okay, cool. Eleanor, let's come to you. Do you want to grab a mic and give us your final thought before you go? And there's some more people. Are you leaving?
No, we're coming back.
All right, good. You wouldn't lie to me, would you? No.
Yeah, just that it's always good to chat. It's nice to be on the same high street. Got a project in mind to work with Talkaoke on. I'll go out tomorrow and have a chat. And Yeah.
Mikey's. Sounds good.
Okay, great.
Anything coming up from a shout out earlier?
Yeah, there's lots of little bits of stuff. We have handicrafts on a Monday. Our tea room is open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday mornings. The over 50s bingo club is going to get started. We've got kids art club after school. All limited numbers because of where we're at the moment, but when we're allowed to.
It's something to be looking forward to, and thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and meanwhile,
What about the bubble tea?
Oh,
yeah, sorry, Eleanor.
Oh, yeah, the bubble tea is going to happen. The young people have just been to look in the shop. So this was because Aberfeldy Big Local does community chest grants, which are for local people to have a good idea that can come to life. So I went to more good ideas than we could pitch for in 2 hours, one of them being bubble tea. So we can't do the summer event, and lots of the ideas are linked to that, but we can try out what it's like to make bubble tea. So watch this space. We'll be selling it to you guys down the street soon, or the young people will. I'll be honest, I've tried it before and think it's revolting. So I will facilitate the happening of it. I will not be drinking it exactly. But it seems to be really popular. I have two lovely colleagues called Nuri and Veronica, and I know Nuri's son also knows about bubble tea. The bubble tea information is out there in young people, and us older lot just need to learn about it.
Thank you so much. So I'm looking forward to bubble tea establishment popping up somewhere through your initiative and facilitation. I've not tried it before, so I'll be first there in the queue trying it. Thank you so much, Eleanor. Thank you for the tables as well, for these tables. Thank you. Anyone else? Any views on bubble tea? I mean, Ray, would you come to a bubble tea place if there was one opening up? Yeah? Okay. Do you know how to make bubble tea? Yeah.
What I was going to say is, at the moment, the situation that you've got, what would you say, the popular hardcore and all the different areas that you have for, what do you call them, the council, what's the name of it? I can't remember the name. The councils, each council, yeah? The boroughs should be responsible for the little ones of each kid. Now, give them the chance of, if you got the kids out stealing cars, now if you had a place where they could go and drive motor cars and do it legitimately, yeah, and give them a driving license and sort them out and tell them that's the right way to go. Do you get what I'm saying? Like on motorbikes as well. It's just around. They should be responsible for each sort of kid. Ask the kid which profession that they would like to do. Snooker, pool, boxing, like you've got there, yeah. And just like to be responsible and ask the kids if there's a profession that you want to do, mechanics, carpentry, get them asked them what they want to do in the council and stop the crime. That's the way you do about go about stopping the crime and shit like that, because you let the people know. Because if you've got one rich people that are driving sports cars that are £50 million, yeah, I'm sure they would chip in as well. But like if you had big kids doing the right thing, like and give them a driving license and help them to structure them to go the right way about getting it, instead of doing sending them to jail, then they go to jail, you come out of jail, you're only getting educated in jail as a criminal to come back out to do more shit on the street against it, because when you go to jail, they don't do nothing, they have to structure you. You follow what I'm saying? So if you get into the criminal sort of thing, just by any chance of whatever, yeah, I just say that you come out on the street, then you're going back into it because that's all you've been taught. You don't drag you and separate you and say, listen, this is the right way to do it, we'll sort you out. And they just throw you straight back out into the same team. So if the councils could get together and ask the kids which way to do it, and I'm sure you could cut half of it in.
Do you know what? I really love this point, Ray, because I think you're kind of saying, you know, the council has to listen, there has to be money really found to show young people the right way, but also inspire them maybe and show them what other options there are.
Yes.
Right? So I'm going to come to Mikey, but I think it's an excellent idea.
I just want to concur with what Ray's saying, because I've just hobbled over here because it's such an important point. that actually when it comes to things like bike crime, all being victims of bike crime, all of us with bicycles, it's about those kids. I was chasing some kids down the street with my wheel, as before I did my legging, and those kids were just wanted to mess around with bicycles. And if there was an opportunity for them to do it, they would be doing it. You know, they would be like fixing bikes and putting them together. And I think that is, you know, we've heard a lot about security, CCTV, police. The way to stop it is to actually go with that interest and actually, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, I don't know if that's what you meant, Ray, but what I was picking up from what you were saying, I almost kind of imagined what you were saying is pairing up young people with an adult, you know, just something to kind of, almost like a mentor, someone who's got that kind of, you know, connection with young people to, yeah. What are your interests and how to channel them? Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, if you had motorbikes, bikes, cars, you get everybody in the room.
And I think this is, going back to your point, Mikey, I think that is something that people are interested in, the bikes, there are cars around, that's true, can we channel it? I know, Sue, that you had your hand up a little earlier on, but I don't know if the point is gone, is it completely gone? We can kind of throw something new in as well. Go.
No, it's silly to talk about bubble tea.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, go, bubble tea.
It was just about bubble tea, but it feels kind of silly coming off the back of a really important conversation. So
maybe we can combine it somehow. I mean, there were some young people there who were interested in making bubble tea. Could the youngsters teach the adults something? Could we, as adults, learn something from young people as well?
This is my attempt to try and make it sound a lot more meaningful than it actually was. I was going to say, like, you know, bubble tea came from like Asia, and when it first came out, it was kind of like a what the heck is this? It's a fad, but now it's like a serious business. But like, you know, a lot of people think like when you make bubble tea, they think it's a really like low class thing. So I think it's like a drink, and then it's tapioca pearls, but there's so many other things that you've got jelly, you've got coffee jelly, yeah, different teas, like fruit juices, they've got like all kinds of different toppings now, like it's just exploded. And it all started out from like street vendors. I think that's the thing, right? It's like, we should, you know, not everybody has to like go and work in an office or things like that. You can do like actual skills. Yeah. It just depends on like, you know, what you find really you're good at and what you really like to do.
So there's a skill to making bubble tea, but also where it's coming from. There's a story behind that as well, and also how to set up a business. It seems like the bubble tea as a fad just grew and grew, but they're legitimate businesses. How do you make a profitable business? And on the back of that, I'm going to go to Laura and just hope that this links with anything in any way. But if it doesn't, it's also fine.
Kind of, maybe, in terms of businesses.
Come to your own camera line, please.
No, I don't think it's pointed in the. I can use this one, the big one. No, because it's very. It's fine. It's fine. My point was connected to something earlier. I don't remember what was the conversation at the time, but I was just thinking in terms of community and local engagement and how to bring people together. I was thinking, is there any like farmers market around here? Like, where do people get fresh vegetables and fruits from? And this is how you connect with people, start to talk to, you know, business owners, where they get the food from. And I don't know, where can you find it?
I'm going to hit this man with a question on the back of what you were saying. Do you go to a farmer's market? Where do you get your veg from?
Sorry?
Where do you get your veg from?
What veg?
Do you eat veg? Do you buy veg?
I'm vegetarian, no.
No, but like, if you have your steak, do you have a salad sometimes?
My local job.
Right, because we were just talking about a market. Apparently street markets are gone from this area. Do you have any?
If you got crispy market, there's
grab the mic. Oh no.
We scared him. Just talk of fruit and veg. Just really put this man off.
I'm very interested.
I was gonna no, that's okay. Sorry, too much vegetarian chat. I get it. Yeah. We're not trying to indoctrinate into the street is good. I'm gonna go to Evie, but yeah, what happens to the street market? That's where people connect. Is it true? Where do people meet people? Apart from it? We've got a new face. I'm going to go to Evie quickly. Stick around.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's a difference. It's like Chris Street, you've got the fruit and veg market, you've got a load of shops, and it's like lots of yeah, exactly. Yeah, Chris Street.
Big up.
Oh dear, number one. There we go. And I think that's why you end up like then you've got the A12 and then you've got Aberfeldy. So it's I wonder whether there's enough people here to have a grocer. What was that?
Are we talking about fish?
If you want to get the wholesale stuff.
I've got a question for this man over there. If we start talking about fish, will you get involved? Hello, lady over there. We are doing a talk show. This man is going. I hope you're getting some nice fish. So we've got Crisp Street Market. Sorry, cheap gag. So the lady over there, she's more than welcome to come and join us. This is a Talkaoke, it's a pop-up talk show. At the moment, we're talking about bike crime, how to prevent it. Also about linking young people up with adults who've got skills, who can kind of point them in the right direction and help them achieve their dreams. That's one of the things. John, I think we had a point from you. Am I kind of reading your body language correctly? Could you have had a point? Do you still have it?
Well, everything that I'm hearing seems to point in one direction, and that is that there is a very strong will locally. It's also true that that same will is happening all over the country, but there is a strong will towards local management and control over local circumstances. And in that regard, Eleanor from Big Local, yes, very, very good point. People turn up and they do things and they organise them according to the will of the people who turn up, not Poplar Harker, not Tower Hamlets, not the government, and definitely not Boris Johnson.
Definitely not him, says John, because I'm impartial. But so it's about people who are turning up, people want to do things, and let's look locally to what people actually want to put their skills. There's a lot of offers of people wanting to volunteer their time as well. Evie, go ahead.
Well, I think it's a good point because I think from like talking to everyone here who's either worked for Big Local or the architects who are working in the master plan and stuff like that, and even, don't think Tower Hamlet Council are probably, again, another council is strapped for cash and trying to do the best that they can. And it kind of, you just think, well, we've now had 10 years of austerity, or at least or cuts on spending. And so, I don't know, it's really good that people are putting all this passion to try and make places better. But then if we haven't got the same level of focus on public spending, or the fact that we're at the moment, not here, but like a lot of places in London, they'll say they'll do a certain amount of social housing. And then by the end of that project, 5 years later, it's then, 1% social housing or no social housing, but affordable homes at the market rate. But that's still supposed to be meeting a need. So I know that's a bit of a long rant about the government and things like that, but I just think we've really, really honed down on privatisation, and I don't think I think, and from whatever we've seen about rising inequality and children saying there are not enough youth centres and stuff like that, there were youth centres around towns when I was growing up, and they're closed now. Sorry, that's a very long rant. But.
Right, so not enough youth centres is one of the points, but also there's a point about inequality, and also how much power do we have locally to change the government's practices, policies, so that we can be in charge of some of the big have a say in some of the big decisions being made kind of above our heads. Meanwhile, we've got new faces around the table. We've got the man who's talking about fish market, but don't talk to him about vegetables. But we've got a new face over there. What's your name?
It's Rais.
It is Rais, I know it is, but I just needed you to say it. We've got John, we've got Dinah, and we've got Joe who are going. Girls, you know the rules by now.
absolutely. You have to say your final thoughts or initial thoughts.
Shall I give you my address and you can come and do it on our local street?
Yeah,
It's
no
brilliant.
problem,
I
no
absolutely
problem.
love
Is
it.
there
How
going to
you
be free AV Grill vouchers?
Yeah,
That'll be
we've
there.
got a fish and chip shop. It's quite good. But I mean, just pulling people off the street and getting them to sit down is genius. Like, it's great. I think, yeah. Is there another noise I can hear? Is there a noise I haven't had yet? Yeah.
Why don't you throw in something ominous so that we can legitimize playing the song?
Yeah, I don't know. It might rain, mightn't it? But we're all right. It's not going to rain, is it? It's just getting dark. That's why I've got to go, because I've got no bike lights. Yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you, Dinah. Do you have any kind of final thing? Was that your final? Was that your final thing?
Yes.
Thank you, Joe. Anything from you?
Just just a massive thank you. I think it's been amazing, and I didn't know you were doing this every week, or not this
every month.
Sorry, every month. Correct quickly. We're going to be here every week. You're going to regret that. But,
we can bash something out for you.
Here we do things, activities, other talking stuff here most days, and we do workshops on Saturdays and Sundays, and we also tour around and go to lots of other places. So we are pretty much doing it every day, but
in some context,
only here out on the street once a month.
Brilliant.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. We've just got to make sure we do it all through the summer so that we can build more and more into the master plan. But
That
thank
is
you
the plan.
so much.
That's the plan. See you later. Thank you so much, girls. Thank you for making it happen. I'm going to come to you, John, because I know you had your hand up some while back. Do you still have a point? And then we're going to come to you, Race, because you wanted to throw something in there. All right. Oh, Sue, are you going as well?
Yeah, I'll come around and say bye, but...
Right, what's your final thoughts then?
There's a bubble tea up there for everyone.
Thank God. Thank you, Sue. Thank you for making it happen. Have you got any spare vouchers? That's nice. Bless you. Okay, John, come and join the conversation talking about AV Grill. What do you think of it? On a scale of 1 to 5, how many stars?
We're in a hurry.
How many stars do you give this?
Which one? I don't know.
What do you think of it?
This one?
Yes. The chicken chop.
Oh, chicken chop.
Yeah.
In the as usual at the end, no what
Yeah.
you do. I don't know. I'm from Batmali Green area, so I don't know actually about this one.
Never eaten.
But it's a good. I think the good thing.
And do you
People can
agree that
find it very easily in the corner shop. So that is why.
We were just talking about not just about, but earlier on today we were talking about what brings community together, and there's a lot of people who have got interesting things they want to do within the community. I mean, what do you think could bring people together? Is food one of these things, or what brings you here? And
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the things that can make the community together.
Mhm.
So everybody come here to taste food. So they can speak each other. Which one you like to? They can share each other about the food.
so keep it sizzling, is what man says, and we've got sound effect for it. Keep the food
Yeah,
going.
sizzling.
That's a hard
Sizzling
community.
nowadays. The people want the without oil. It's very fine. You know, don't like oil very much. So they want the grilled things, like sizzling things.
We were talking about markets earlier. We've put one man off just because we were talking about vegetables. He couldn't handle it, but he went to AV Grill, so obviously he would agree with you. What happened? Yeah.
Vegetable. So another good things for health and safety.
All right, you like vegetables, so that wouldn't put you off. Well, what I would say is we were just kind of having a conversation, just talking about when you once you placed your order, come and sit down and wait for the food
Actually,
here.
we are in a hurry, so we're gonna somewhere.
Go and get it. And thank you so much for getting involved. Meanwhile, I'll just say welcome, Will. If you've got any points, I will come to you shortly. John, now finally, I come to you. I can see that you've grew a beard because you've been waiting for so long.
Very true.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
true.
Okay, what was your point? Is it going to be relevant now?
I was listening to all that stuff from somebody who seemed to be a very good apologist for Eco World and Papa Harker and all those people who dominate land. Well, I'm quite concerned as I grow older about the fundamental inequalities that there are in mankind, and certainly reflected in this country, that we never address. We tend to accept Poplar Harkers, Eco Worlds, Tower Hamlets Council, Persimmon, big landowners, whatever it is. But any grandchild or great-grandchild of mine born into the world this day would not come with a bunch of wealth and would not come with personal title, present or future, to a piece of land. How is it that we have managed to occupy a planet and divided it in such a way that some people have a right to the land and others are always unpaid, unwelcome visitors? That is the fundamental difference between those that have and those that have not.
So it's about this
the idea of a poplar harker, and tell me about it because I was there, became a director of it, propelled its ideas forward. But the limitation here is that actually ordinary people in social housing, so-called, have no control whatever over the use of the land. Blair Street is an example. Did the ordinary people have a choice about that? Do ordinary people have any choice about what is happening on Leven Road? The answer is no. I know that because I was there and I tried to exert an ordinary influence over what should happen to those pieces of land. That is the fundamental reason why we have inequality.
So it's the question of people who are dominating the land. What is kind of happening? How is the land being distributed?
No, they're not dominating the land. They have rights to it, where those that don't own it have none.
Right. So, just what you said. I think I used dominating because you used that word, but I'm going to come to. So that's the point from John. I'm going to come to Rais because you had your hand. Also, I can see a bit of a kind of 5 o'clock because you've been waiting for so long. Take it away. You're number 6, aren't you?
Yes.
Nice. What was your point they want to throw in here?
Well, it's summer, so I was hoping that the community would come together on Aberfeldy to give curricular activities for young children and adults alike, as well as teenagers. So they should come together and arrange for like fun activities, like maybe playing sports like football, for instance, or maybe like some play basketball, some play children chasing their fathers or something like that.
Okay, so you're hoping for a bit more kind of activity, summertime vibes. But what do you think about this whole issue that John has raised about, maybe people who supposed to own the land because they've always lived here, that right is removed from them by big developers and housing associations? Do you have any, do you agree this is source of inequality or contributes to inequality?
I am not exactly sure though. I can't really state something on that I don't know much about. So
okay.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know.
Would you like to own the place where you live? Would you like to be able to own your house, or are you kind of happy to move around? And
I'm happy to move around for the moment and just rent out the place, and that's about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rais, Mikey, and Georgia. Because you haven't said anything for ages, and then we'll come back to you, Evie. And this table is obviously available. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, which may mean that he wants to say something.
Or he may just show us that he's having snacks.
Yeah, it might just be
that would be classic
to give us snack FOMO.
No snacks. No snacks.
I just wanted, this idea. In a way, it's kind of zooming out, and we're talking about the very good intentions of the designers and stuff like that, but they're designing, as John says, on a canvas that's already kind of sketched out into lots of little squares, rather than starting from scratch or designing something a bit more radical. And the reason for that is, I think, this question of land ownership, which we take as a given, but it's not a given. And I think, I detected a little bit of a South African accent from Rais. And in South Africa, first of all, the Boer farmers came over with this idea that they're going to own the land, and all the people already living there were, suddenly there were certain people owning different plots of land. Yeah, they were disowned of the land. They didn't know that they didn't own it beforehand because they didn't have the concept that the ground on which you stand should belong to one person and not another person. And, this is a very much characteristic of the last couple of 100 years that we've got this idea, but I think moving forward, when it comes to questions of community, I think we need to evolve it. We can't go backwards and just say, no, everything is free, but we need to think about how this idea of who's got a right to be on what land. It came up in the Talkaoke that young people felt that when the land was fenced off or when it was enclosed or they felt they didn't have a right to be there, it gave them a very bad feeling. So we need to think about, what is owned commonly by people and how that gets to be used and who makes decisions on that kind of stuff.
Okay, so the fact that somebody else owns the land, that's fairly recent concept, really. I mean, it doesn't have to be like this. I don't want to get into like how many years old is this concept, but you're saying it doesn't have to be like this. I know you could. That's why we're just gonna go. Just gonna clip it there. Georgia, I'm gonna come to you, and then Evie, and then Reese. So hold that thought.
It might seem like quite a trivial point, but
is it about bubble tea? No.
No. It's about, it's kind of jumping off of what John was saying, and something that's really annoying is that it sounds really trivial. It's a lot of places. If you want to have a pet, you have to own the house. So it means that a lot of people that are renting, they can't have a pet. And also, so pets, I think for a lot of people are real and just seems like really like that's another I'm going to get the fish. It's a fish. I mean, you can have a fish, but you can't have a dog or a cat.
Yeah, this one would be happy about fish.
We all knew that's what you were trying to say.
Yeah, but it's so annoying that you'd have to own the property to be able to have a pet. And pets for people, for their mental health, can be such a benefit. I think at the moment, especially because of COVID, like I've seen a lot of people really benefit from having just an animal around. And the fact that you have to own the property or the land to have this privilege,
so
it's just ludicrous.
That's something that we can kind of come together as a community and kind of campaign for? It may sound trivial, but I don't think it is from what you're saying, from the benefit on people's mental health. I mean, is that something that could possibly change?
I think they were going to put it in law, like that renters should be allowed to have pets, but I don't know where they've got with that. But yeah, I don't know how many people will be on board for campaigning for it, but because it does seem trivial, but at the same time, I think it's really beneficial for a lot of people's mental health.
Right. So if anybody knows whether anything's changed about the renters' rights to have pets, please let us know. We're keen to know. Meanwhile, Ray, I mean, what are your views on pets? Oh my God, everybody's like fleeing. Guys, don't worry. It's a safe environment. We can point the camera. Yeah, we can point the camera. Listen, we can point the camera away, so don't you fear. But you can say something on the mic if you wish. Go on. On the mic, no camera.
God bless to everybody. Yeah, thank you. It's good to have this talk out here as it goes. Yeah, gets the people going and gets everybody's opinion. It should be everywhere. They should be doing this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ray.
Thank you. Good night.
And also, thank you so much for contributing, because I think you threw in some very interesting points there, which links to one of the projects that we are doing. So I don't know if you're local, pop in sometime. Well, listen, get involved. We're going to be here. Are we going to be here tomorrow? If you're around tomorrow, come and have a chat with us. It'll be really... Oh, yeah. Well, whenever you see it open, just barge in. Yeah, but really nice of you to have stopped and had a chat. Thanks so much. Thanks, Ray. Take care. Right, so this is what's happening here. Evie and then Reese. This is a massive build-up.
Mine's quite a short one.
And we are winding
all I was going to say, I've had so many opinions today.
Evie's on the roll.
No, what I was going to say was I was on the way. I was thinking the other day, though, like, I think it can be quite easy to be like, oh, well, developers are all evil, But I think for a lot of people who, if they have any kind of like private, or not private, like any kind of pension plan through work, which is not national insurance, you're probably invested in some kind of property developer. You're probably invested in oil. You're probably invested in a lot of things that you probably, as you know, you might not actually want to day to day if you were like a consumer. So I don't know. I guess it's just kind of reflecting the fact that you can be quite tied up in all of this, even if you think, I disagree with big developers or something like that. You might still be, benefiting from them.
So you may be still investing money for quick or safe returns in interest of your own future or the future of your family.
We're all tainted.
So we're all tainted. Are you tainted? Would you give your money to a big developer? Would you invest your money in a big development? Is one of the things that we're talking about here. And finally, Reese, can you say something now?
Well, where to start? I mean, I'll start with, you should definitely be allowed to have pets in flats. And as someone who is very lucky to live in a new build flat where we were allowed pets under the lease, mainly because the marketing people realized that the people who wanted to live here, one of the things that they wanted to do was to own pets because there's parks nearby.
What pet do you have?
I got 2 dogs. So we're very lucky. I'm aware that we're in a slightly unique position that a lot of new build people don't have. I can get my own to do that if you want in a second. They're easily.
Yeah, sure.
I'll bring them on later. On the other big questions, I mean, look, I guess I have to be careful, right? Because I work for the project and do comms.
Oh God, don't worry.
But also as just a person who has an interest in development and the city, and probably views not too different from yours, as certainly as a starting point. And the gentleman before, I wasn't born with a title either, and I also think that where we've ended up probably isn't how we would choose to do it if we had a blank piece of paper and the last 70,000 years of human existence hadn't turned out the way that it did, right? But this is about the art of the possible, and it's about what can be achieved with the way the world is. And I think one of the interesting things about having a housing association involved in a project like this is housing associations do have a duty of responsibility to their tenants, and not all of them are great, but my experience of working with Popular Harker is they are very good. I'm always impressed when I walk around Aberfeldy at how well looked after it is, and I've also been really impressed at how engaged they are with the community, and I think what we've been talking about tonight is part of that. I understand the skepticism about a lot of London development over the last 10 years. When Boris was mayor and at the height of austerity, there was no funding grants for affordable housing, no funding grants for social housing, no interest from City Hall in making developers build homes for social rent. That world is different now. I think with Sadiq Khan.
Is it better or is it quite the opposite?
Well, it's better. There's a new London plan. The minimum amounts of social of affordable housing are up to between 35 and 50% that need to be provided. And you've got Labour councils and a Labour mayor. And maybe this is showing where my politics comes from, but and it's also in their own self-interest, right? Our voters, particularly our London voters, have noticed that a lot of houses have been built, but the housing crisis hasn't disappeared, because what there's a lack of is affordable housing, and what there's a lack of is social rent housing. And what makes this an estate regeneration project, why this had to go to a ballot, what makes it different from a regular development is that it's about trying to ensure that it doesn't leave behind or exclude the people who live here. It's not about replacing them. It's about providing something better for them, hopefully improving the amount of affordable housing as well. There will be as well. And, if you look at the original, the schemes that have already been built, you can see that the quality is good. There's also, there's lots of different tenures. There's social rent, there's London affordable rent. I mean, it's for different people in the market.
To your earlier point about the kind of social housing and the ballot, kind of getting community involved in deciding on where their kind of regeneration is going, what what is, I don't know exactly what the money is being spent on, but probably to some extent as well, what kind of stuff people want. And I want to ask people around here, what would you develop in this area if you could, apart from obviously bubble tea establishment, because that's a big one. And anyone online, you're welcome to kind of contribute as well, because we are kind of in our final bit. So this is like, just say something now or don't say anything.
All I was going to finish on was.
Oh, right. Sorry.
No. All I was going to sort of finish on is, I think it's right to have high standards and to be vigilant and to, watch what's going on and make sure promises are delivered and to follow up on what there is. And a healthy amount of skepticism is good, but ultimately we're not going to solve all of the land ownership issues or inequality issues in one go. But what we can do is make sure that this development delivers what we've promised it has. And I can tell you from working on a lot of other projects, most of the time you have an architect, you have a design team, they go off, they do what the developers want to achieve the profit margins they want, and the community engagement doesn't happen. This is very different to that. This is and that's, I think, what we were trying to show is, the young people are really involved. The whole community is really involved, and partly because they have to be, because it's a housing association led scheme, because we have to do a state ballot, but also because the desire is there for them to be involved. And I just thought it was worth pointing out that, that those are some of the things that make this different, and this sort of event is different. You guys have had control the whole way through. It's been your show, and everyone's been free to say what they want, and you've seen how that, it's different from anything I've worked on. So I just thought I'd finish do another pitch, but I've only been working on the project about 2 months, so I'm learning. It's a steep learning curve, but I'm been very impressed so far, I have to say.
And we have really noted how improved you are now on the pitch making, so congratulations. But I think what you're I'm picking up on what you're saying, that, it's good to kind of highlight the positives and the things which are not common practice in how the developments are being developed, and that community development, the community engagement aspect, which is so central to this project, as you're saying, it's something to celebrate, and there is optimism. Will, you have put your camera on? No, there is a sound of. What does the fuck say? One thing you have to know is that whenever Will comes on, this is his sound effect, and also when the fox comes on the mic as well.
Yeah. I've been enjoying all the new ones, especially the rewinds. That's been fantastic. I have come in at the tail end of this conversation, but it's been really, really interesting to listen into what people have been saying.
Give us your final initial thought then.
My final initial thoughts.
Development, anything. Birmingham?
Yeah, I mean, different issues up here, but it sounds like we've got a lot of the same ideas, probably that a lot of people share down south as well. I definitely agree we need pets for renters. I've rented for 10 years, really wanted a pet, so I'm very jealous of the dogs that you have over there. I really like the idea, somebody said in the chat, a youth centre, when you asked the question, what should be built? I thought that was a brilliant suggestion for what should be built in the Aberfeldy area.
There is a new community centre coming.
Amazing. There we go then. I haven't been
there you go, it's happening already.
So long. So an idea of like a community hub or a youth centre, somewhere the community can congregate. Yeah, I can't wait to visit that when that's done then. That's my initial final thought. And I'd love to see what people would like to be done in that area.
Thank you very much, Will. And I'm just going to rewind to the little moment when you came on. What does the fuck say? That's it. Thank you very much, Will. Okay, so Larice, you're saying you'd spend the money on youth centres. What kind of youth centre would that be? Just a bog standard ping pong table type of vibes, or what are we talking
I've spent no money
here?
on anything personally, but well, my understanding is the last bit of the first phase, the bits that already have planning permission and the bits that are going up that you can see at the end of the street, that includes a new community centre that will replace the one that's further up the street the other way. And I believe that this is a space as well that the young people that were there today have had a lot of input on, sort of co-designing what the space will look like and what will go in and how it will be used. I know co-design sounds like a naff word, but it does, imply what it means is that they are involved.
Yeah.
They are actually helping to influence what happens with the space. I think it'll be a good space, but based on what they've got, that's certainly what I understand. So
Right,
and
so
there's a new GP surgery as well going in there, and there's lots of and new shops. So it's an extended Aberfeldy Street effectively. So that's all to come next year.
So that's all kind of in the pipeline, the youth centre, or rather a community centre, community space, and the GPs. And I also realised one fatal flaw with my diction. When I said Lou Reese, it just sounded like Reese. And so Reese just kind of gave us some kind of expansion on the subject of youth clubs.
Just started in again, didn't I? Sorry, I'll mute myself now.
Bring your pets on. Larice, tell us. So you kind of start off. So what kind of? I'm trying to do the ping pong sound at the youth centre, but I can't. They're standing very far away. We've heard a tiny weeny bit from you, Larice. So you want to give us some bits and pieces? Yeah.
I'd have ping pong, table tennis, PlayStation, Xbox. I'll also have like a music center, a music bit in it where they can produce music or learn an instrument. Every month would have get together party or festival of some sort. Yeah.
Okay, so
tutoring for any of the kids who feel like they, not so good at a certain subject. So some teachers there would be good as well.
Right, so a casual party just for no reason, just because why not? A festival, something that gets everybody involved, but also keep the... Sounds like a micro tennis, actually, to be honest. Mike is put his face in his hands. I don't know why. And what is your final thought, Larice? That's Lou Reese. What kind of... is that your final thought, or... something that you may want to kind of throw in for the next month's sesh?
My final thought, I don't really bike like that, and I'm not really that into animals, so that's my final thought.
I didn't catch that.
I don't really bike
You're
like
into
that.
animals.
I'm not a cyclist. I'm not really much of a cyclist. So that's my final thought.
Thank you. Thank you for being this proud kind of non-cyclist. I'll give you a round of applause. Steve, any initial final thoughts? Anything from you? Nice to see you.
I'm still waiting for a first thought, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so are we.
I did. I used to be a cyclist until I lost the space, but I kept the bike in, along with the bike itself. But I would have got another bike had I space to put another bike in, but I lost both. So yes, space is important.
And is that your final thought as well as the initial thought? And by the way, sorry about losing the bicycle. I think we've heard a lot of stories about that tonight, and it's never easy, is it? It's never easy. The heartbreak is real. So sorry, Stephen, and everyone else who lost their bicycles. Is that your final thought? Thank you very much. It doesn't look like Reese, but we've got a guy there on the thing.
That's my dog.
All right. We've heard the final thought. What's his name?
This is Bo.
Bo.
He doesn't have any thoughts, I promise you. He's the dumbest dog I've ever met in my life, but he's lovely.
So cute, though.
Yeah, he's great.
Okay, we've got a question to Bo, though, from Mikey.
Is he called Bo for the same reason that Brooklyn is called Brooklyn?
Which is?
No, he's not local, I'm afraid.
Well, thank you, Bo, for coming on.
I thought you were going to say because he has bad BO, which would have been true.
Very Seinfeldy, this one, the BO.
I must admit, some of these sound effects do sound a bit sarcastic sometimes.
That's when Margot.
What do you mean?
Well, the violins for my sub-story about my bicycle, for example.
I'm sorry.
I just want to say that Margot's actually lost her bicycle, and And that was about 3 months ago. She had it stolen from Hackney Wicket Station. Put the sad music on because it was.
It was my favourite bicycle, Stephen.
We've been hearing about it for the last 3 months, every single day, about what a tragedy it is and how she bought a new bike, but the new bike has got an ugly stem and it's the wrong colour. And she keeps, every day she's looking out for that bike to see if she can see somebody riding it. So it's not just you, Stephen. I've had my bikes. I think everyone that's ever cycled has had their bike stolen.
So, so how about that? Anyway, there you go. So that's all from people online. What about people in real human flesh? Any final thoughts, people? I mean, you have the whopping 2 minutes to wrap it up. Laura, I feel like we need to come to you, or you need to come to us.
Yeah.
Oh. What is your final thought?
My final thought is a memory of my stolen bike.
Shit, sorry.
It was a mystery to me because I was young and silly. So I didn't believe that they actually steal bicycles in London. So I just left it in front of my uni. I didn't think twice. My luck was very shitty, so I actually don't blame people who just saw this really, really bad log and they just probably cut it with regular scissors. But I remember how silly I felt just walking back home whatsoever. So.
Sorry to hear this, Laura. I feel like there's a podcast coming along, isn't there? Like a call-in show or something. Thank you, and really sorry about your bicycle. Really, really sorry about this. Is this your final thoughts, Laura?
Yes, I mean, I'm over it, so I think like I went a long way to be here and be able to talk about it.
It will take some courage, people. You also can be over your bicycle. Note to self. Thank you, Laura.
I'm gonna be there as well.
I will get
day.
there. I'm receiving counselling every Friday morning. Anyway, it is helping. So Georgia, Evie, John, Mikey. We've got Bo too online, but fleshy humans.
I have a final thought, which is there you go. I found it quite interesting today because I guess I don't really know much about like developments around London, and or I do. I think when you hear about architecture, you hear about like a cool new museum, or you like something really fancy. And then, or you just kind of see like a big building go up and then it's just there. So I think it's been really interesting finding out about like all the thoughts that go behind it and just like all the things that you're having to juggle all the time. So I've enjoyed being able to find out more and ask questions.
Thank you very much there. Don't turn the sound effects down. Georgia.
Oh, my final thoughts. I've got 2 final thoughts. Is that okay? Okay. So number 1 fits with this music actually. You just reminded me that there was a massive building put up at the end of my parents' road, and it looks like a Dalek. I'm not joking. It's 30 floors high, and we weren't really consulted about it, but just thinking about like all these different buildings. Should we develop them so that they're like more like superheroes and sci-fi? I don't know. Anyway, I'm not a fan of this building. And then the second final thought was, let's do something out on the street for the summer.
Pet fest? Bring your pet.
Bring your goldfish.
Fish, there's a splash.
Yeah, it sounded like a fish.
It's fried fish.
That's a shower.
It's not a shower, it's a frying. Well, actually, both.
I was thinking more like music, but yeah, we could do that. But yeah, I feel like the summer shouldn't be wasted. Do something out on Aberfeldy.
Okay, get out on Aberfeldy.
Get everyone out and about.
Bring a fish on the leash.
Maybe do a quiz. Do
a quiz?
A fish quiz. Or...
How well do you know your AV grill?
Yeah.
Quiz. Thank you.
What
you,
fishes
Georgia.
do they like? Anyway. final thoughts.
Thank you, Georgia, for this final thought. We are on borrowed time, but I have to remind everyone that we have finished earlier last month because of an accident. So I feel like if we go over 5 minutes, because the accident actually ended well, it's okay. Mikey, final thought? John, final thought?
I don't think I can find a useful final thought, except to say this. I have heard in my time, which has been quite long, a few waving of vanity signals, and I thought our man who talked about all the developments and what wonderful life it's going to be was probably the most impressive of the whole lot. In other words, I don't believe it at all. We will wait to see, except I may not be there, and I'm glad I'm going.
All right, John, thank you so much for that final thought, and thank you for sticking around. I'm on last 5% of my battery, so Mikey, make it a snappy one.
Yeah. I think, well, there was one point when I was in the middle of the table, and I'm not allowed to comment on in the middle of the table, show my opinion about, the meanwhile space and what is temporary and what is permanent. But in reality, everything is temporary. It's just lasts longer or shorter. And I think John will agree with that point. And we're always changing. And so for me, I think, I think it's always about creating new things, not sort of going back to the old things and trying to come up with new ideas and new ways of doing it. And, whereas, I might be cynical about how things turn out, I'm not really cynical about people's intentions and what they want to achieve. And I actually, talking about what I believe is called now virtue signaling, virtue signaling can be a good thing because it's hard to talk the talk without at least trying to walk the walk. So I think it's all the right noises, and that's to me is kind of like the way ahead. But I do think, it's actually up to us, and although we can't change everything about the system, we can do things differently, and and we should always struggle to do it in a new way and do stuff differently.
Thank you, Mikey. I'll exterminate you now. The sound effect. And
I've had a bicycle stolen and a sound effects pad stolen. That's it.
Well, that's it. Will.
What does the fuck say?
So, people and foxes, you know who you are. This is the end, as we say here at the People Speak, and I'm sure people have said it before. It is 21:36 o'clock on Thursday. It's Sheila over there. She's on the phone, so she probably can't join now. But we're wrapping up anyway. So thank you everybody for being here tonight, all through the early evening into late evening. Some would call it a night, and we will call it a night. So go and have a fantabulous rest of the evening/night. And thanks again. Thank you to Laura on camera. Thank you to Rick on the decks and camera and everything. Thank you so much to Georgia for keeping this well-oiled ship more lubricated with the kind of COVID liquids and stuff. Thank you to Evie for this. And all the points. Everybody, thank you for all your points. Bye.
What does the fuck say?
We can stop streaming now. Thank God.